It's very touching.
Touchy.
Touchy.
No
We
touching.
are
No
live, huh?
touching.
Hello.
I've realised I'm in the
Hi.
wrong spot. There we go. That's better.
Oh. Okay.
Hope everybody is doing fine in their self-isolation units.
Yeah, these screens are a little too close to each other, Jeff.
I know we
They're
need to be
not
about
2
6
meters apart.
feet apart.
Let's see.
Yeah, what? Yeah, we actually
Oh,
need it.
that's
Oh,
closer.
stop it.
Now we're touching.
I'm sorry.
Germs.
Let me get back.
Germs.
Okay, so that's a little bit more space. Does everybody
Yeah.
feel comfortable?
I hope you've washed those hands,
Yeah.
Dana, before you reach out and try and touch me.
Oh, he's got you.
Dana, I wouldn't do that. He's the one who's sick.
It'd be really freaky.
I
I know,
think
like another hand coming through.
I've had my virus and I haven't exactly recovered from it, but I'm no longer infectious. So I'm cool.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah.
I mean, just because you're coughing doesn't mean you got the virus. You're infectious.
No,
anymore.
mine's definitely allergies. I've had this cough since
Yeah.
beginning of January.
Probably the last show that Dana will be on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Rest in
What
peace.
killed him? Allergies.
Severe allergies.
Speaking of which, I forgot
No.
to take my medication today. That was stupid.
Should do that.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah,
was
that
pouring rain here
schizophrenia
yesterday
is a
and-
real nightmare.
Surrounding all the puddles on the sidewalks, it was just this rim of yellow pollen
Mhm.
collecting in the puddles. It's gross.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tree sperm.
Tree sperm. Mm-hmm.
So, hope everybody's doing well and haven't been infected by this coronavirus thing. All of you in the chat room, and glad that we can continue to do the show while we're still all alive.
Well, you got enough co-hosts now, Jeff. So even if
I know.
a couple of us drop off, you've
It's still
You
going.
got
plenty to
reserved.
go.
I just hope that I can make it through it.
Yeah, because you really never told us what to do if we have to carry on without you. You keep saying you're going to.
Well,
but
then you
really,
keep saying, nah, we don't want to really know.
Yeah.
No.
I think what you should do, Jeff, is you remember that bloke Max Headroom that got turned into a
Mhm.
computer character. I think we should have one of those of you,
Okay.
a sort of Max Nielsen or Captain Max. Actually, yeah.
Laura says, are you in Grand Rapids? Does it look like I'm in Grand Rapids, Laura? Look.
I mean,
behind-
I've been to Grand Rapids. I remember it looking exactly like that.
I
What?
can't see any
Yeah,
rapids in those pictures.
no,
I
I'm in
can
the
see a
Maldives.
few piranha, but
Maldives.
No,
Somehow he
I'm
escaped.
actually in my self-isolation chamber at APG headquarters. Ended up calling in sick for this trip because of I think it's just allergy stuff. So fingers crossed, no fever that I can tell. I don't know. I have to have Jilly come over and put her hand on my head and tell me whether I have a fever or not.
she can't bloody tell. She's a witch if she can.
You know what? I know
What?
what you guys are getting for Christmas because I never sent anyone anything for Christmas. I don't think.
Well, a
You're all
digital
getting
thermometer.
thermometers. Yeah.
Oh,
I have a
that'd be
thermometer.
great.
Put your back
I
in
want
stock.
send me the rectal one, please.
Ooh,
Yeah.
No comment.
extra
an-
large.
Yeah,
Extra large.
that is an odd request, but okay.
I don't think he knows what
They're
rectal
more.
means.
They're more accurate. I mean, he's
They're
not
far
wrong.
more accurate.
Yeah, I
That's
would
what
have
we're
bought
out
one,
here.
except there's not a digital thermometer to be had on the internet, except
Yeah, I know.
some thing from China that looks like it, cost about 2 yuan to be made, and they want to charge 150 quid for. Get
Mhm.
lost.
No, I'm gonna send you the old school ones that have like real mercury in them. So if you're real
Ooh,
careful with it, not drop it.
Wow.
oh yeah, Excellent.
You don't want to have mercury up your.
In your armpit.
In your armpit. Yes.
Yeah.
Up your wazoo.
Up your wazoo. Let's see.
You send me a wazoo. Yeah, that'd be much more fun.
Let's see.
Not only that, you can't find toilet paper anywhere.
Get mercury up your.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not going to be a show title. I can't do
Is there a
mercury up
drinking
your
game for this
yazoo.
show like P2UK had for the last? Laura, this entire show just is a drinking game. So just start
Yes.
now.
Should we specify which word is? I think they did that on the PTUK. on
They
the
did,
last
yeah,
show.
that's
Every
what she's
time they
referring to.
mentioned The coronavirus. Yeah.
You had to take a drink.
Yeah.
I tell you what, if
Just
you
drinking
can do it
seltzer.
every time I cough, how's that?
Yeah.
Oh, we could get drunk very quickly if that.
Yeah, you could.
Okay.
By the way, my body's not reacting well to alcohol at the moment. That's the hardest thing.
Mm.
Wow, it's just did not like it. Mind you, I'm on antibiotics, so
Yeah, you should not be consuming alcohol with your antibiotics.
yeah, I'm
Public
not.
service
I'm
announcement. to anyone
drinking
else
coffee,
around.
coffee. I'm drinking very nice
Coffee.
coffee.
No,
I opened up
coffee.
this little seasoned tuna packet thing and I was having it on crackers. And almost immediately I started getting this really bad indigestion, like really like not good at all. So I don't know if it's something in here
It's the mercury in the tuna.
it might be. I don't
Probably.
know. So
One
I
of the most highly
stopped
polluted
eating it.
fish in the world is tuna now.
Anyway, but I'm okay now. All right. Let's see. Y'all ready to start the show?
Yeah,
If we have to, Jeffrey.
We have to. We
we
must.
must. The show must go on.
The show
Sooner the better, because I got to leave to go to work.
tonight.
You're flying tonight.
I picked up a trip.
Oh,
Woo.
right, cool.
I saw you flew something yesterday too.
Yeah, that was the 23K recovery trip
Oh,
that
okay.
they gave me.
Up to Dayton and back.
hmm
Okay.
And then I picked up this I'm at over 100 hours for the month now.
Wow. Good. Good for you.
Well, I'm having to save, get every penny I can.
There you go. All right. Let me go over here and hit my record button.
Did you see Kyle's announcement?
And I'll hit stop. And I'll erase everything that I just did. Yes, I did.
Mm-hmm.
The one from yesterday, right?
Yep. Only going to be 20 airplanes left.
Okay. But doesn't mean
Well,
we're not going to be paid.
In the world.
Yep. Sorry.
Okay.
Pick your favorites.
That was just going to work. No, that wasn't working the way I thought it was going to. I thought I was going to be able to hear.
I'm so surprised.
I know. Hey, don't you start with me, young lady. You and your computer
know what?
antics.
I need a drinking game for every time. I know. Well, I need a drinking game for every time you say, I'm trying something different today. I have a new setup.
That's
Because
true.
it's literally every
I
show.
know. Well, because that's one of the
Yeah,
things I
but
like
that
about doing
would
this
give us
podcast.
one drink a show.
Fun.
Well, it had to just be one big one for the entire show.
This
It
is
would
all.
have to
this
be
is
a
like-
bottle.
This is these are my toys. This is how I play. A boy with toys. These are
Yeah,
my,
we hope he never perfects it, Steph, because that'll be the end of the
That'll be
show.
the end of the show. I
Yeah.
know.
I'll lose
I
complete
know.
I
interest.
can do
I
it
know.
now. Right, that's it. I'm
Yeah,
bored.
I've learned everything I need to know about this. Sorry.
Yep.
Have a nice life.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the first part, and then I'm going to stop it momentarily and then hit record. Okay, because I can't figure out exactly how to do this. So here we go.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy episode 418.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy show, the view from our side of the cockpit door, with your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from Studio 1A at the socially distant APG headquarters in Roswell, Georgia. Today's show is recorded on the 25th of March, 2020.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. With your light and he's flying by. With the Airline Pilot Guy.
In today's episode, the control tower at Chicago's Midway International Airport shuts down after personnel contract the coronavirus. An earthquake grounds flights at Salt Lake City's airport. More news, your feedback, and in today's plane tales, the A320. So get all settled in, tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger. Flight 418 is ready for pushback.
You got the clap.
Woohoo! Woo! Yeah, dude.
They have
That's
medication
going
for
around
that.
too.
Oh boy. All right, so pause, beam, bam, boom, and right here now hit record. Thank you, Radio. Thank you, Radio Roger, a real live radio professional, our favorite. He is in New York City, the largest radio market in the world, at 1010 wins. All right. I am Captain Jeff. I'm an airline pilot and a guy, hence airline pilot guy. And you have, fine listeners, stumbled upon one of the fine fine aviation podcasts out there. And I'm a captain for a major shrinking U.S. legacy carrier based here in Atlanta. And here to join me today from... why is this not working? Try that again. And joining me today from her lakeside home in the Carolinas, skydiver, marathon runner, strength training junkie, IPA connoisseur, and commercial multi-engine instrument rated pilot, Dr. Steph.
Hey, Captain Jeff. It is so good to see you this week. I think we're maintaining acceptable social distance here these days, as we always have, really, for the most part, on the APG.
I know these squares are kind of close together, though. I'm kind of nervous.
I know. Well, we'll do what we can.
Yes, we'll do our best. And also joining us from across the pond, a suitable distance from his studio in the English countryside, professional photographer, former RAF fighter pilot, retired captain for an international airline based in London. It's Captain Nick.
Hi there, Jeff, and hi everyone else. What an amazing time to be locked down when the weather here in the United Kingdom is so beautiful. If it was miserable outside, I wouldn't mind so much. But there you go. Life's like that.
Life is like that. And also joining us from the Northwest Atlanta suburbs, barbecue master, motorcycle rider, pleasure boat skipper, underwater photographer, and captain for another shrinking major U.S. legacy carrier, Captain Dana.
Hey, everybody. Great to be back on another episode here. And looking forward to talking about all this fun stuff we've got going on.
Yes. And unfortunately, Miami Captain Rick can't make it today because he's still in training, and he is having a great time, I'm sure, right now in the simulator down in Miami. Probably not.
Sweating profusely, I presume.
That's something I don't envy him right now.
No, I do not.
But I think he's nearing the end of this training block. Yes.
Yes, he is getting closer to the end, the light at the end of the tunnel and all that. Well, let's move on to...
Let's hope it doesn't turn out to be a train.
Yeah, that would be a bad thing.
Stand by for news.
This first item in the news folder is some audio.
Midway Airport Control Tower, update March 17, 2227 Zulu. Midway airspace has reverted to Class Echo airspace. The tower has been evacuated and is currently closed. Common traffic advisory frequency is 135.2. 1 minute weather is available via phone at 773-884-4424. Are currently unable to provide IFR service off the ground. If you could depart via phone, request IFR services may be received from Chicago TRACON frequency 128.2.
Well, there you go. That was actually happening the day we recorded our last show, episode 417 last week. And apparently somebody, I guess one of the contractors or techs or something was...
Someone else working in the tower. It wasn't a controller. I think there was more than one person potentially.
They were infected with the COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they said, okay, we're out of here. Good luck, everybody. Now,
Did you get a chance to go back and listen into live
No,
ATC?
I was watching people talk about that. I have not heard it myself. Have you listened to it, Steph?
Yeah, briefly. It's, I mean, everyone's doing a great job, and they're using it the way it's supposed to be used, just like any other, uncontrolled, classy airport. It's just interesting to hear it when it's mostly large jets coming in, or
Yeah, you're used to
737s.
hearing like November 995.
Yeah,
Charlie
exactly.
Alpha.
Not, Southwest, whatever. And it's kind of funny because I think you can tell the pilots who are used to flying more GA on a more regular basis, and those who are not, just by their confidence in the calls that they're making.
Right. Yeah. How am I supposed to do this again?
Yeah. And the frequency. Some people are like every 2 seconds, like making a call. I'm like, okay, I think people know where you are, but it's okay. It's
Okay.
good.
Yeah. Thank you.
Better safe than sorry, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, this would have been a nightmare for me because I haven't a clue what you guys do when you do this stuff. So, I mean, are there any international flights going in out of Midway?
Yeah, Porter and Volaris. Porter from Canada and Volaris from Mexico.
Okay, but they're more likely
North
to be
America.
familiar. I kind of meant European or perhaps Australasian. Far East.
No, not to Midway.
Xenophobic person, you.
Well, I'm just thinking the familiarity with how this works, because a lot of them, they would have been thrown, just throw your toys out the cot. What the hell is going on?
I give up. We're not going anywhere.
Someone just play at being a controller, One of you just do circles over the top and tell us where to go.
Now, one of the interesting things there was they said, if you can depart VFR and then pick up your IFR once you're airborne, you can do that. And that's one of the things that Dana and I can do. Our standard operating procedures allow for us to do that. And this would be a situation where it would be okay for us to do so, not just out of convenience, but out of necessity to take off out of Midway. Just taking off, as long as you have the visual flight rules, or the VMC weather, then you can do that and then pick it up pretty quickly after you take off. Right, Dana?
Correct.
Okay. I'm just curious, though, if you go off VFR and you can't get a clearance, what do you do then?
Well, you maintain VFR, and then if I guess if you can't, you can only, you have to stay within a certain
35 miles.
35? Well, I know that's for,
I think our company policy is 35.
I thought you might be able to go the whole way to your destination at 1,500 feet. That'd be so cool.
You might have some splaining to do if you did that.
You would, and then you'd have to have a few
if you're
fuel stops.
GA aircraft, you can do that as long as you don't stray into some other airspace somewhere.
Dana makes a good point.
Pop in halfway and take some gas. I'm sure no one would mind.
To get up to the altitudes that we need to go to have the proper fuel consumption. Would require being up in the what we used to call the positive space airspace, or the, what do we call it, class 1 now, class A.
Acme doesn't have any short flights out of Midway, not to like Minneapolis or something. Or
yeah, but we still, I mean, if you go at 10,000 feet, then you're going to burn a lot of go-go juice.
Yeah, well, that's true. I think you could make it though.
No,
no,
maybe, I don't know.
If you have an alternate,
then you could probably make it.
I mean, we came out of Dayton yesterday, and they kept us at 10,000 feet until we got south of Cincinnati because of the situation in Indy Center. And I was looking at the fuel consumption at 8,000 pounds per hour at that low altitude. And I'm thinking to myself, we're just not going to make it very far if we don't start climbing.
Now, if you plan for it ahead of time.
Plan for it, sure.
Yeah, and that's what I meant. I didn't mean,
But if you find yourself in the situation that Dana's in and they don't let you up any higher,
that would be bad. Certainly.
You start looking at it, you start thinking, okay, how long can I stay down here before I'm starting to think that I'm not going to make it to Atlanta?
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, we not only were planned at a lower altitude initially anyways at 22,000, but the rides were much nicer up high. So climbed up to 33,000 feet and had plenty of fuel.
Excellent. We're glad you made it.
In one piece, fortunately.
Yes. Okay. Well, so interesting stuff going on. Things that,
and they did have to put up a TFR to prevent people from doing like general aviation touch and goes or laps in the pattern at Midway, because apparently they had a problem with that initially after this first started.
Yeah,
someone got out there in their bug
Hooray!
smasher and was, like doing touch and goes at
It's a
At the
chance of a
airport.
lifetime to do something we'll never ever get to do again.
Yeah, well,
All right. Well, if that weren't enough, how about this?
Fairfax 3687 with you. We're ready to take off.
ATZ0, Salt Lake Tower, ATZ0, Salt Lake Tower.
Tower FedEx 3687.
What'd you say?
Attention all aircraft, Salt Lake City Tower declaring ATC0, Salt Lake City Tower ATC0 due to earthquake trigger.
Salt Lake City traffic, Delta 2060 is approaching taxiway limit across 16 left, traffic on 16 left, please advise. Salt Lake City area traffic, Delta 2060 crossing 16 left at Lima. Salt Lake City traffic, please advise. And Salt Lake City area traffic, Delta 2060, clear the active runway 16 left, parking for the ramp.
So that is a good example of the way you do it, right?
Yep, that's exactly what you do.
Yep. So I bet this person had some experience flying on non-towered fields in GA aircraft, I bet.
Sure. Yeah, so this happened actually Wednesday last week. I see the note there, but it was on Wednesday because I know this because my siblings all live in Salt Lake City, and I got a text from several of them all at the same time with some expletives and the word earthquake. It woke them up from sleep at about 7 o'clock in the morning.
I have a little bit more audio if you want to hear.
Oh, yeah.
What's happening during. Okay, I just stopped in the middle of it, but
keep going.
No. You'll get to hear some of the excitement.
Yeah, that's one. Buddy up. Just had an earthquake in Salt Lake Tower.
That's why the transformers are blown.
Yeah, it was shaking pretty bad. Right now, 16 right is just clearing from 1 day, landing at your own risk, ATC0.
Roger that, sir.
Yeah, it was pretty scary.
Yeah, you should have seen all the transformers going out.
Stay safe out there.
So, as you said, Steph, the earthquake.
Yeah, it was
a pandemonium. He's talking about the electrical transformers blowing up, and
So this was a 5.7 magnitude earthquake, which is not a small earthquake. I guess a lot of people may not know, but the Salt Lake Valley is crisscrossed by a whole network of fault lines. The most well-known one being the Wasatch Fault, which is right along the mountains on the east side of the valley. But this earthquake actually happened. The epicenter was, 4 miles northeast of the town of Magna. So I don't know if you probably don't know where Magna is, but is on the northwest corner of the Salt Lake Valley. So 4 miles northeast is basically the airport.
Oh,
so it was centered right there.
Oh,
so they had some more damage there than they had in other parts of the valley.
Wow. Well, so we have coronavirus outbreaks. We have earthquakes, and what's next? Maybe what's that? Oh no, swarms of locusts? You're kidding me.
You laugh about this. However, can I tell you my locust story? Actually, I don't know what they were. I was driving across town, and this was the day after the earthquake. And I had just washed my car because we were mentioning before the show that it has become pollen season here in the southeast of the United States. So my car was covered in this nice, layer of yellow pollen. So I ran through the car wash, and then I was driving back across town, and I drove through this huge swarm of bugs. Like it was like a cloud of bugs, and I can only assume that they were locusts because what else would they be?
What else? We should mention also that they had the same kind of issues with the coronavirus infection or threat of in the New York market. I believe JFK and several of the surrounding airports. I guess it included LaGuardia, Westchester, and others up in the New York City area that had to shut down because of coronavirus related fears. So
Also, Las Vegas.
Yeah, well, that's right. Las Vegas is the same thing.
And Indianapolis Center.
So I hear that Las Vegas and Midway are both still operating non-towered operations. And our good friend and fellow podcaster, Dispatcher Mike, said that he received something from Acme that said, reminding the dispatchers to remind air crews landing at these places that they remember to cancel their IFR clearance because
good idea.
Yes,
that's the problem.
Yeah, otherwise they go looking for you.
Yeah, and also I guess they can't technically allow somebody else to proceed via IFR to the airport, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Kind of makes it a big mess.
Yeah.
Okay, now being from the other side of the world, I know ATC 0 is well recognized. I'm not sure how common it, well known it was in previous decades. Indication in the States that air traffic is shut down and that no service will be provided. But why use a term like that, which is not self-explanatory, when it would be easier to say air traffic control has shut down? Do your own thing. Think up a suitable phrase. So why use a code word that is only FAA used? So you're the only country in the world, as far as I know, that has ATC 0. So I'm just a little bit confused. Why have a code word for that? Why not just tell people in plain language? Because that's, I'm a great believer in when you're communicating, you make it plain and simple. You don't couch it in a term that is not necessarily self-explanatory. I'm just curious.
I'd say that's a great question for the opposing bases guys.
Yeah.
And we should send them some feedback about it.
I get RH would
However,
he would just cold shoulder, you just let it slide off. Whoops.
However, this did cause problem with US based pilots. What was that, a few years ago? The first time this term really became or was used. Yes. They used the term and everyone went, what is no one knew what ATC 0 was.
Yeah, in fact, we talked about it on the show and said never heard that before. We had the same question back then, Nick. But now, at least now, when I hear it, I go, "Oh, I know what that is."
Yeah, well, that's the only reason I know what it is because I was on the show at the time, going, "Wow, that's a new one on me."
That's a good point. Now, at least the people at Midway said it's now a Class E airspace. So
and they did say it was going to be a CTAF and all of that, so that should include.
They helped a little bit, but you're right, and they should just say, "Look, you guys are on your own. No air traffic control services. We're leaving the tower, so there's nobody here to control you." Just use more plain language. I agree, would be a better thing. By the way, let's see, we have Dave Gooch says he thinks that Midway is back open now. He believes,
and as of 20 minutes ago, perhaps Las Vegas as well.
Oh, really? Wow. Yeah. Okay.
That was from not Dave, someone else in the chat room who I've forgotten. Anthony. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Anthony. Yeah. So I don't know. That's a good question, Nick. But maybe the boys over at the opposing bases can tackle that one. They probably have the same the same feelings we do. I don't know.
They'll say it's in AP 715522-3-5.
It's the 7110, whatever it is.
Exactly right. So it's there, and that's the answer. Not that I have any problem with that. They have to use phraseology that's in their book.
Yeah,
I just think their book needs to be slightly
somebody throw that book away.
Improved upon.
Yeah, that's right. Find Noddy's book of air traffic control. That's what
Craig Messerman in the YouTube chat says KLAS Tower is up on live ATC. Just heard a pilot say, "Glad to have you back."
Oh, I bet.
There you go.
That's good news. Well, speaking of good news, we have even more good news. We always love these kind of good news, feeling good kind of story, feel good kind of story. There we go. This is item D. American Airlines reunites passenger with father just before he passes. Well, that's that's the sad part of it. American Airlines has been in the news recently for all the wrong reasons, but here's a positive story showing that there is still love within that airline. Let's see. Lori Thomas was on business in Virginia when she received a phone call informing her that her ailing father's condition had worsened. She immediately booked a flight back home from Dulles to Colorado Springs with a connection in Dallas. Unfortunately, her flight out of Dulles was delayed, which meant potentially missing her connection in Dallas. On the verge of tears, she wrote a note to the flight crew asking for help. Here's Lori's entire story. After receiving an emergency call while on business, we just talked about that. Not wanting to burst into tears in front of passengers, I wrote a note explaining my situation and asking if anything could be done to delay the connecting flight. The flight attendant curiously took my note to the galley and returned with the following notes. And see, I guess on Instagram, they must have posted some pictures of those. Upon arrival at Dallas-Fort Worth, I was whisked to an awaiting American Airlines ramp vehicle on the tarmac and driven to my gate 2 terminals away. I made it home in time to spend an extra day with my dad, who passed away this morning. Thank you to Deanna and the captain on American Airlines 2784, and to the captain and crew on American Airlines 2347. I'm eternally grateful for your compassion and kindness. Indeed, despite what you see making headlines, kindness, compassion, and humanity does exist in the airline industry. Thank you to these American Airlines teams that went the extra mile and made this happen. Your work doesn't go unnoticed. Keep it up. So, and this is, we hear these kind of stories, and I'm sure they probably happen a lot more than just like this once in a blue moon. It's just that we don't always hear about these kind of things. And, we've talked about these kind of stories before on the show. So I guess this probably happened before this whole coronavirus outbreak and the incredible diminishing of service for all the airlines. I mean, canceled flights and everything else. I'm assuming, I don't know. Not that it makes any difference.
No, it doesn't. But quite often these things are just one or two people who go make that special extra effort. It's often not a whole bunch of people. You find there are a few individuals suddenly realize there's a situation. They make a few phone calls. They do a few things. They follow through on a story and make sure it all happens. The whole airline may not do that, but it only takes a few individuals to make a really good story. That's for sure.
Yes, that is for sure. Well, we purposely made our news folder items small so that we could spend more time answering people's feedback and also kind of talking amongst ourselves and getting to know each other. So here we go, our Getting to Know You segment. Getting to like you. All right. So, Dana, I'm kind of curious. You've been out there flying in the last few days, and I think you left on what, a Saturday?
Yes.
Okay. And it's been interesting, huh?
It's been very interesting. I'm actually looking at my schedule right now just so I can kind of get it straight and right as to what's well, now of course, what's this?
We're witnessing. We're
breaking news. Where's the breaking news?
Breaking news. Today is the 25th, right?
Correct.
It is.
I think my trip that I was supposed to go do tonight just canceled.
Oh,
I think. Let me log in because I was actually going in here to take a look at my schedule because it's been so wacky. Display my entire schedule. And yep, it looks like I've got a no op on the flight that I was going to be taking out tonight. I was supposed to go to Omaha, leaving at, I was going to leave the house about 8 o'clock because I think it was like a 9:20 duty and a 9:19 this evening, 21:19. Anyways, let's go back to Saturday. I started my 4-day trip on Saturday, in that I was going round trip to... I'm pulling it up here. I did a round trip to Baltimore Saturday morning, then went to my Omaha layover. And I had, in process going to Omaha, was notified that my last day of the trip, which was supposed to be Houston, Deadhead to... No, that was Philadelphia. I was supposed to fly to Houston and Deadhead the next morning back. That was canceled. So they moved my 4-day to a 3-day. So when they did that, I went ahead and picked up this Omaha trip in the overnight hours. I put in a pickup request for this 1 leg out, 1 leg back. And during the overnight, they went ahead and instead of me going to Omaha, coming back from Omaha, I was supposed to go from Omaha to Atlanta. Then I was supposed to do a Charleston round trip and then Charleston to Philadelphia. That got all dropped. And I ended up coming back to Atlanta and having the trip end when I got back to Atlanta. So I no longer did the Charleston round trip. They were having me deadhead to Philadelphia, fly Philadelphia back to Atlanta. And that's when I was supposed to be done after my first reroute down to a 3-day. So then they took all of that away, and I came back to Atlanta on Sunday morning and ended up being done on Sunday. So then I had what's called recovery flying. So you're basically on reserve for the original time, but because I had actually picked up another 2-day over the dropped 4-day, I had picked up a 2-day, so they actually never assigned me recovery flying on the 4-day. It was only for the 2-day, because when I picked up that 2-day, which is was on Monday, because I saw that was going to be available. So no, the 2-day.
Folks, if you're having trouble,
did someone put subtitles up so I know what the hell?
I know it's
I
crazy.
got as far as like the first day.
I'm even having trouble understanding.
The moral of the story is looking at my current schedule. I mean, this is just crazy. The airline is absolutely in complete and total chaos and meltdown. So the moral of the story is that I flew a 2-day. Well, 4-day was supposed to be 4-day. Turned out to be a 2-day on Saturday and Sunday. Then I picked up another trip, and that ultimately on Monday dropped, and they put me on recovery flying on Monday. And I also have the trip that I was supposed to leave on tonight now has been taken away. So I don't know when I'm flying again. So it's been very interesting. But however, when I did arrive in Omaha, I had a very nice note that was handed to me the next morning. Not when did I arrive? It's when I was heading out of Omaha the next morning. I had a note left for me. It says, "For Captain Dana on flight 1098. Hey, Captain Dana, APG listener here. I commuted in a little too late to catch you. I love the podcast and really appreciate the content you guys put out. Times are tough, but better days are on the horizon. We will get through this together. Safe travels and tailwinds. Tate, first officer at SkyWest." And also that morning when I was, showed my first officer this note that I got, and he was quite amazed. My flight attendants were actually quite amazed, and one of the flight attendants actually wanted the name of the podcast and wants to listen. And while I was sitting there talking to the gate agent seemed interested in what was going on. So I started talking with him. And Zach in Omaha, 19 years old, very, very eager, is already learning how to fly and is on the path to become a professional airline pilot. So I recommended that he go ahead and keep in touch with me, and I gave him some words of advice because he was very disgruntled and kind of bummed out about what's going on in the world right now. And I said, Zach, you're 19 years old. You can't even be hired by an airline yet. You've got plenty of time, and things will rebound.
Yeah, this is going to recover.
Yeah, and so, right now it's as we've always said on the podcast, especially myself, that things are tough, and they're going to be tough as a result of what's going on for a while. But guys, keep your heads down, keep on working, because it's gonna turn around eventually.
Yeah.
So that's been my week so far. Now I guess I'm not going to work tonight. That I was getting ready to go to work tonight.
Oh, it's nice we get so you can kind of stay with us for the whole show, and you can kind of chill a little bit.
Yeah. Now I'm going to try to find something else to pick up. Because I'm at over 100 hours worth of credit. I mean, the reality is the writing's on the wall for me.
You got to save some of that money for the rest of us.
Yeah, well, I don't think I have to worry about losing my job necessarily, because if I get laid off, Acme and every other airline in the country will be in really, really, really big doo-doo. But I think it's very likely now that I will be back to first officer. But we'll in time, and only in time. It's going to take probably a good 4 to 6 months for this thing to wash out. But I think while I can, and I am still a captain, I'm going to try to get as much dollars in the pocket and try to fly as much as I can, because I'm going to miss the mighty dog. You're gonna miss it.
Speaking of that, we've been watching things happening. We've already talked about the fact that the Mad Dog at Acme has been slated for retirement, and the original schedule had said by the end of this year, December of 2020, all the 88's gone, and then sometime in 2021, maybe into 2022, we'd still be flying the MD-90 model of the Mad Dog. And of course, now because of this whole outbreak here in the U.S., they've rapidly accelerated the retirement schedule and parked a bunch of other airplanes as well. Though that's a temporary thing for those airplanes, but for the airplanes that are being quote unquote parked, as far as the Mad Dogs, the T-tails are concerned, I don't believe those are going to be coming back. I think Dana and I were talking about, before we recorded the show, some communication from one of the people that know something about this, that by the end of, I guess for the summertime, they're thinking there might be 20 MD-88s still flying. All the MD-90s gone by the end of April. And perhaps sometime in the fall, they'll retire the remaining 88. So sometime in the fall, it's likely that there are no MD-88s and MD-90s left at all on the property for Acme Airlines, and they're not coming back. So now a lot of you have, and I think maybe some of our feedback covers this, so I don't want to get too much into this, but don't worry. Just because the Mad Dogs are going away doesn't mean that Dana and I are on the street. It's not the way it works in our system. We'll just be, it's all based on our seniority. And so we just get displaced to another aircraft. And then based on our seniority and what we request, we fly whatever airplane that we can fly. For me, that probably means going down to the Boeing 717 or the McDonnell Douglas 95, actually. So it's just another variant of the DC-9 Mad Dog series of airplanes. So don't worry about me. I'll still be fine. And while all this happens, while they figure out how to get everybody retrained and such, could be that I'll be having a little bit of time off. But they still pay us because we have a contract. And that's one of the things that having a union and having a contract does for you. It makes sure that you're not just left there holding the bag with nothing in the bag. So we will, we're going to be okay. We're going to be paid, unless the company entirely goes under. Then we're all out on the street. So that's the way that works. So Dana is probably, I think he said something about perhaps downgrading to first officer. He might have to out of necessity, and I think he'll tell us for sure. But I think he's talking about maybe going over toward the other side of the the Boeing Airbus spectrum, and probably bidding for a first officer on the Airbus. Is that right, Dana?
Yeah, I mean, my plan, I may have a choice of staying as captain, but more than likely I would have to commute to New York, be my guess at this point, depending on, how deep they cut and what they offer. I mean, it's still very, very fluid right now as to whether they're really trying to protect. I've been watching some of the internal memos. They're really trying to protect the pilots and not furlough in any way, shape, or form if they can avoid it. But the reality is we don't know what this is going to look like right now. So
right.
They're also, that they've also said that early retirements have not been offered. They're not off the table, but they're really steering away from them if they can. So I'm starting to read into some of the things there. Now we have the opportunity for what's called a SIL, or I think what's SIL stand for? Anyways, it's basically
special incentive lines.
Yeah, special incentives.
The latest thing I heard was that they've taken all those off the table.
They have taken those off the table as well. Mm-hmm. So I have a sneaking suspicion that they're probably seeing or thinking there's going to be some type of turnaround here, and now that there's very few, or I haven't looked at the news in the last day or so, but over in China and Korea, they haven't had any new cases. If that's the last I heard. So I think the the overall effect will be long-term rebuilding, but I think it's going to start turning around here. That's my guess.
Could be.
I'm just kind of, and I'm just reading between the lines. I'm not, I'm just kind of surmising what by the actions, and I could be completely wrong. I don't know.
Paul in the Facebook chat room says, roll back to the age 60 mandatory retirement. Nope. Never going to see that.
No.
This is a bump in the road. Everything is going to recover. They're going to be back in the same situation a few years from now where they're going to need pilots. So they don't want to shoot themselves in the foot. They have to be ready for all of us to be qualified and to start getting back in those cockpits and flying airplanes. So no, I don't think the opposite end of the spectrum either, Paul, going to age 70. I don't see that coming either. So I think they're going to leave it at 65 for now. And even the talk of early retirement packages at Acme have been happening, and they're not sure that that's a good way to go either, because that requires a lot of cash, because you have to, offer like big lump sums of money to get old geezers like me to retire a couple of years early. And
Get out of my way.
We don't have the cash to do it. Right. So
Right.
It just doesn't make sense at this point. Now, I know that there are some other majors out there that are talking early retirement packages, maybe for their finances. It works, but not for Acme, as far as I can tell, at least some of the briefings that I've been watching. So we'll just have to wait and see. But, Dana and I are not losing our jobs. We're still going to have a job. We may not be flying a lot, but we'll still get some kind of pay protection for, living our lives and paying our bills and such. So thank you for all your thoughts and prayers and stuff regarding this, but I think we're going to be okay. So
I've got my fingers crossed.
Yeah,
for sure.
So, of course, if you just keep watching our show, you'll just go along for the ride with us during these next few months and see how this whole thing pans out. Steph, what about you? What about your industry? I would imagine your job security is pretty high at this point.
Yeah, our job security is not going to be an issue, fortunately, at least not for me, and hopefully not for any of the staff that I work with. Certainly, those of you who have listened to the show for a while know that I am a subspecialist, basically. So I do, for the most part, non-life-saving work on a daily basis. Mostly it's about quality of life and keeping people out of pain and discomfort as it relates to spine conditions. Mostly degenerative changes, things that happen to us as we get older, although we see people who are in their 20s occasionally for disc herniations and nerve pinches and things. So we're kind of in this gray area right now where we don't want people coming into our office who do not absolutely have to be seen, because we get people bringing in all kinds of family members with them and other things, and we don't usually we're very busy, so we're trying to limit all of that contact. So we've basically cleared our schedule for at least through the next 2 weeks, letting folks know that they can call us back to reschedule at a later time. We are offering video visits for some of our patients and telephone visits, which I have another setup right over here just to do my video visits and things from home, so I don't have to go into the office either. And we're kind of trying to toe this line of preventing people from going to the emergency room to seek care if they're having a lot of pain or discomfort. So we are still doing some limited procedures. So I was doing that this morning up in one of our outpatient offices, which unfortunately is on the complete opposite side of town, which I'm not complaining about at all. It's nice to get people in and get them taken care of and meet their needs. But it has been a significant reduction in our schedule as well. Tomorrow I have one telephone encounter for the entire day. So I'll just mostly be monitoring my in-basket to look for people with questions, do medication refills and that type of stuff. So it's definitely impacted us, but I'm going to be doing, now that we definitely have the okay to keep doing these procedures in our outpatient facility, I'm going to keep doing those as much as I can until I'm told otherwise. And we're just trying to spread them out so it's just really one patient there at a time. So someone comes in, has a procedure, they leave, next person shows up. There's no overlapping. But
very good.
It's great. It's important for these people to have their treatment. It's great that you have the capacity in your system to allow that. Don't think it's quite the same over here, but yeah.
Yeah, no, we're definitely fortunate from that standpoint. And there are a lot of things that we cannot do right now. We're really not set up to do all of the procedures that I would normally be able to offer, but at least I can keep some of those folks going with some things. So
Absolutely.
it's a little limited. Some of the more technically advanced things or some of the more risky procedures we're not doing just because it's in our outpatient setting and not in a surgery center or hospital-like setting. There's fewer resources in case there is a problem. And we don't want to overburden those resources by doing things that are potentially riskier. You don't want to have someone with a complication that ends up in the hospital and uses resources.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And if those folks are, if people are having serious problems, then our surgeons are doing surgeries on a very limited basis for urgent, emergent cases where people are having neurologic compromise, basically. So they're losing nerve function because of a problem.
That doesn't sound good.
No, and it's fortunately pretty rare. So most people are
That's
not
good.
in that case. I did do a bunch of traveling last weekend, which was kind of interesting. I think my series of flights was less complicated than Dana's. Somewhat.
Good. I think we'll be able to follow along.
Yes,
with you? Okay.
you'll mostly be able to follow this. And this kind of came about last minute for helping my grandfather to be moved from the Florida area up to Tampa area up to Cincinnati to live with other relatives. He was in a skilled nursing facility for quite a while after a hip fracture, but he was ready to go, and it makes sense to get him out of there sooner rather than later if he doesn't need to be there any longer, because it's basically another type of facility that's packed with a lot of people who are elderly and at high risk for infections and things. And to be honest, they probably need that bed to get someone out of the hospital as well if he doesn't need it anymore. So it kind of came we looked at all the options and said, okay, well, if we're going to do it, now's probably the right time to do it, because if we wait too much longer, we might not have the flights that we need. And air travel is so reduced right now. There's so few people in the airports. It's probably a good time to be able to negotiate that pretty easily with him, because he has some significant mobility issues at the moment. So I went down to Tampa to help out, met my dad there, took a flight from Charlotte to Miami. That was 30 people on an A321. So pretty empty. And then a very full 737 from Miami to Tampa. No idea why. Can't explain that one. And a lot of pets on that flight too. It seemed like everyone had a dog or a cat with them, like in a pet carrier down by their feet. I have no idea. And this day was pretty hectic trying to get him to the airport, and we had him on an Acme flight. Actually, there was a direct flight on one of the Acme connections, but it was originally supposed to be a CRJ 900, and we weren't entirely certain if it would actually be parked at a jet bridge, and if there was any issue with him potentially needing to negotiate stairs, we didn't want to risk that. So we put him on a connecting flight, because that actually kind of breaks things up a little bit for him, allows him to get off the plane and have a little time to move around. And my cousin, this involved a lot of people. I had another cousin come down and meet us who actually did the flight with him. He's kind of a bigger guy and was able to help with some of the mobility issues. So he met us there, and everything went really smoothly. They got on their way and got up to Cincinnati via Atlanta. And then the next day I flew home back through Miami again, and 2 very empty flights, like to the point where I actually had a personalized note from the flight crew at my seat waiting for me saying, "Thank you for your business. We really appreciate it."
I'll be able to eat tonight. Thank you.
Yeah. So kind of
how sweet.
But it was, it was very empty. There was no one in the airports. Charlotte was a ghost town. Even Miami, not so much on Friday, but on Sunday on the way back, there weren't very many people there. Tampa was actually busier than I expected on Saturday, but that was the day they closed all the beaches. So I think everyone was ready to get out of town.
Well, very good. I'm glad that transfer from Tampa to Cincinnati worked out well for your dad or your grandfather.
Yeah, it all went well, and he actually just sent me a text just now thanking me. So I'll have to get back to him at some point.
Wow, how about that?
He doesn't have to do that. It was something I'd be happy to do anytime.
Excellent. Well, Nick, you were kind of out of sorts or so health-wise for the last episode, and are you feeling any better?
Yeah, I'm sorry about missing the last one, Jeff. I just ran out of puff, and it was just, a bit much. I am feeling a bit better, so that's good news. Come this weekend, I'll have had this dang cough for 2 weeks, but I'm still, coughing fairly heavily and regularly, I guess. So, yep, I seem to have plateaued, but the situation is the same as many people who are getting this. It's a long and persistent cough that takes some time to get rid of. So that'll being well, as long as it doesn't get any worse or develop into something else, I'm completely content just to have the occasional cough. In theory, I'm no longer infectious, so even though I'm coughing, I could go out and do shopping. But the UK has more or less been locked down. We can go out once a day, do a bit of exercise. You can obviously go off and seek medical assistance if you need, or do essential shopping, or if you're one of those occupations where you are allowed to go to work or required to go to work, then you can do that. But that's about it at the moment. But it's just a bit of a drag. But Jilly and I are keeping ourselves busy, and we're both coping very well so far. Thanks very much.
So you're pretty convinced now that what you have or have is the COVID-19?
Well, I can't think of anything else it could be. Obviously, I don't know for sure, and won't know until they have started issuing tests to see whether you have antibodies and have developed a resistance to it. And you can only do that after the event. So they could, if they had tested me 10 days ago, they might have seen that I had it or not, but I wasn't going to try and do that. In fact, I don't think there's any way of getting a test unless you're willing to do it privately, and I wasn't interested. No, it has all the classic symptoms. I didn't have much of a temperature, but I have had a persistent cough and a slight breathlessness. So I think I'm pretty sure in my conclusions, but it doesn't really matter. We're all isolating ourselves now anyway, so it would be the same one way or the other.
Well, I hope that cough eventually leaves and that you get your strength back.
Well, that'd be great. I'm certainly not 100% at the moment, finding it a little bit hard to work through the whole day. I seem to get periods when I'm feeling great and I can crack on, do a bit, and then I have to go and have a bit of a sit down for a while and sort of gather myself again. But nothing too serious, and I'm very confident that I'll work my way through this in the next week or so.
Well, very good. Good to hear. I'm glad you're back.
I'm very pleased to be back on the show. I'll see how it goes to whether I carry on.
Make it toward the end. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll try to hurry it up. Quickly, read this just yesterday in a piece email from the Airline Pilots Association. A lot of people were concerned about, well, first of all, let's back up a little bit. The FAA Reauthorization Act of 2019, I think, or maybe even 2018. I don't know. It took them a while to pass the darn thing, but they did pass it last year. One of the provisions in the Reauthorization Act was oxygen mask usage requirements. And I know that this is not something that's really a factor for many airlines outside of the U.S., but in the U.S., we were still required to hang the oxygen mask or suck the hose or whatever you want to call it if somebody left the cockpit above flight level 250. And so that was one of those things that was supposed to happen. Well, it didn't. 2019 came and went, and we didn't hear a darn thing from the FAA or our company regarding that. And I just noticed this, as I said yesterday, the FAA has issued a final rule, finally, regarding oxygen use requirements in flight. Effective today, 14 CFR 121.333 section C3 has been revised to change the altitude at which a crew member is required to don his or her oxygen mask when only one pilot is at the controls. The new regulation changes the altitude from above flight level 250 to above flight level 410. Acme is issuing an all-pilot bulletin to reflect this change. So, and I don't need to read the actual language from that section 121.333, but I just wanted to let those of you out there who are flying in the U.S. that that requirement now is gone. So you don't have to hang the hose unless you're at or above above flight level 410. So that's good news. Glad
this is probably not interesting to anyone listening except for healthcare workers. And it doesn't apply to broadly across the U.S., but we had a similar thing. Excuse me. Related to, we used to have to use a lot of personal protective equipment for any patients who had a previous history of having a MRSA infection, methicillin-resistant Staph aureus, even if they weren't sick with it, for the purpose of, trying not to spread it to other people. But we're so short on the PPE, personal protective equipment right now. They've said, nope, that's out the window. We're not going to have you gown up and use those supplies for those patients.
Good. Yeah, because those supplies are getting kind of few and far between, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They're scrambling here in the U.S. to, manufacture them and resupply so that, we don't run out of them. But it's definitely one of those things that we're dealing with, at least here in the U.S. I think things are improving, though. I think from some of the reports I heard today that
it looks like there's going to be hopefully manufacturing of a lot of those supplies is ramping up quite a bit.
Excellent. So one of the things, speaking of supplies and kind of running out of certain supplies for certain items, and that reminds me of something that I wanted to share with you all. Good old Hillel, he likes to hang around while we're doing the show, and usually, I don't know why, but it's usually in the restroom, the bathroom, the toilet, whatever you want to call it. And I saw something on, oops, that's not it. I'm sorry. Let me back up here. A technical pause. I'm trying to share my screen so that we could all enjoy this little message from Hillel. Okay, we need to make sure we share the audio as well. So the other day I received this or saw this on Twitter or somewhere, and let's take a listen.
Greetings, APG listeners. So you can see I'm in my usual spot. It's been a while since I heard from Jeff. I'm not sure where he's gone, but things are getting a little desperate here. I was wondering why he came in and asked for all the toilet paper, and then I haven't heard from him for a while. So I'm a little concerned. Many of you are wondering how it is possible that Jeff can stand, having me back here doing what I do. I think it has all to do with a steady supply of this stuff right here. That really makes a big difference. It actually smells really nice. Sometimes I just use it as deodorant, but Jeff doesn't give me a whole lot of options here. So anyhow, that's the situation. Nothing new to report from here other than, like I said, desperate situation possibly in the next couple of days. Hopefully he'll come back and, have some more supplies, tell me what's going on in the rest of the world. But otherwise, that's it from here. That's it for now. See you next time, or not. We'll see. Bye.
Thanks, Hillel. We'll be returning to you, getting back to you at some point later on in the show.
Can you get him some real deodorant? I mean,
so what he was holding and possibly using as a deodorant, which is not the label usage for this item.
Off label, definitely.
Yeah, it's off label. Poo-pourri. That's an item that I recognized immediately because we had a good supply of that in the RV, right, Steph?
We did. Yeah, it works as advertised. Yeah,
that's
awesome. A couple spritzes in the bowl before you use the facilities.
Yeah. So
well, yeah,
it did. So you really need to, I know you heard if you're listening to the audio only podcast, you really do need to look at this point of the show on the video, so that maybe I'll try to get a link just of this clip of Hillel sitting on his throne in his usual place while he tells us about the toilet paper woes. So thank you, Hillel, for doing that. And let's see, anything else? We got that.
I was just going to say, it's the only time I ever saw you come out smelling of roses.
Thank you.
Citrusy.
Okay. I was going to say something, but I thought, nah.
Leave it be.
Yeah, let it go. Just let it go, Jeff. All right. That's all I can think of. So as far as moving forward, we're still planning on doing another show next week. I don't have anything on my schedule next week, so It'll be the second week in April before I head out there again, possibly, depending on what happens with the industry and such. But I don't believe we have any meetups or any such things scheduled at this point in time. But if
Not
we
allowed
do,
anymore.
yeah, I know, that's right. We're not allowed to get together and do any kind of social gathering. So check it out, though. The airlinepilotguy.com /calendar, which is the APG community calendar. You can find it at airlinepilotguy.com /calendar. Just in case something is happening out there, we'll certainly let you know. Okay, let's move on to the coffee fund.
Johnny, how much more coffee?
No thanks.
I love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup.
Alrighty, the Coffee Fund is your way to support the show financially. And since the last episode, a couple of very nice, generous contributions from, let's see, Dave Schuler, a very generous contribution. Thank you, Dave. And Nicholas Gomez Cuetera, also another very generous donation. Thank you for using the Coffee Fund Classic method, which is your way to send in an individual contribution or a recurring one if you'd prefer. Although the best way to send in recurring contributions is to become a patron of the show via patreon.com. And since the last show, we have a new producer, Jim. He doesn't want to give any other information other than Jim, so that will work for us. He has joined the great group of folks who are patrons of the show. Again, patreon.com /airlinepilotguy. But for either of these methods, head over to our website, click on the Coffee Fund tab, and you'll find out how to join this great group of folks. You'll be glad you did, and we will too, certainly. Do we need to take a break at all before we move on with the news?
I could go for a moment.
All right, let's do that. By the way, to those that are talking about the resolutions in video resolution in the chat room, StreamYard at this point, although I think it's going to change in the future, the highest resolution that they put out is 720. So that's the reason why you're not seeing anything higher than 720.
Nice shirt, Nick.
P. Oh, look at that. Airbus A340. Look at that. Oh, nice little dance too.
Gotta have a big chest to be able to fit a whole 340 on it.
There you go.
Right, just Hillel is in your loot this week, yeah?
Yes, so you'll have to use yours.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll use mine. I don't like surprises.
Yep. Okay, maybe they're still talking about the 720p. Yeah. That's all you're going to get, people. Even though,
well, Micah can't even get 720p apparently. But
yeah, I don't know why. Maybe it's his connection or something. But
I'll be right back as well.
Yeah, sure. The webcam that we're all using, I believe, gets actually records and is, I guess recording is the right word, in 1080p. But again, StreamYard goes only up to 720. But I think that they are talking about bumping that up to the next step, which is 1080. So I think 720 I think is fine for what we're doing, really, honestly. Since what we're doing is just a audio podcast anyway. You're just seeing behind the scenes here. But anyway, that should solve the question, maybe, for those of you wondering about that. Oh, I have a message in the private chat. What does it say? Oh, that was a while ago. Thanks, Liz. Where are we now, Liz? About hour and a half? Hour? Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. You do hear me, right, Liz? Okay. Are we 68 minutes? Thank you, Glenn. Although it doesn't seem like we've been doing it for over an hour, but maybe we have. Let's see. Is my app up to date? I've just updated all of mine. Oh, she's talking about the 480p. Well,
I'm back.
All right. Welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
Not sure why some of you are not getting the full 720 on your devices, but we're putting it out at 720.
I put it out any way I can.
Me too.
That's what she said.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant.
Yeah. You'd think with all this time I have at home, I'd be more productive, but actually this has been my least productive week for a very long time.
Well, when you don't have any energy, it's like hard to get motivated to do anything.
Yeah, that's been part of the problem. You know, I sit up to the machine. I've got a photo shoot, which I did 2 weeks ago today, and I still haven't got through all the pictures. I'm still struggling. Oh, hello. There's a mad dog flying around.
That's Truman, I think, isn't it? Yeah. That's
well,
funny.
a very quick appearance.
Yes. Trying to get some energy out. Burning energy.
Still, they got the Patreon thing up today and put one of the plain tales up, so at least people have something to listen to, perhaps.
Yeah, and crew log from Captain Nick is up, just published an hour or two before the show started. I need to put more out, so look for something from me in the coming days.
It occurs to me I never sent you the audio from the meetup I had with Tanya and Philip and well, we should just I'm sorry, I'm terrible.
You can make it a crew. We
make
can
it a crew log. I could do that.
Okay.
I get my hair. All right, got beverage. My dog was running around like a crazy dog.
Yeah, we saw that. Was that Truman?
Truman, yeah.
Great. Love
so I was trying to come back up on the couch again, and then he just plopped down and was like, "Nope, I'm done." It's like, all right, fine.
Yeah, he was doing 1,000,000 miles an hour. It takes a lot of energy.
Yeah, no, that's common. He'll do that for like 20 minutes and then lay down for like 3 seconds and then go right back to doing it. It's like he's.
And you're welcome,
Ken.
Actually, I forgot to mention that I was supposed to be in Hamburg, of course, last week. That got cancelled. That was a shame. I was really looking forward to that, to meeting Stefan again, who lives in Hamburg, and much more importantly, acquiring some more Sol gin. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that was a pity. I mean, you can actually just buy it in the UK, but I'm sure it tastes
not
better.
as good as the stuff that you get from Steph.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it tastes nearly as good if you buy it in Hamburg.
Yeah. All right.
And don't worry, Neil, we did not consume taco for Taco Tuesday yesterday. It was just a fun photo.
Oh, in the frying pan?
Yeah, taco in the frying pan with all the taco's about to live up to his name.
That's what you say, but we haven't actually seen any other than a blur.
Well, that was Truman. That wasn't even taco.
We have not seen taco. We have to make that.
I'll have to post my video of people start doing some crazy things when they're sitting around their house bored all the time. So our challenge today for the running group I'm a part of was it was squat your dog. So you're supposed to pick your dog up and do squats with your dog. So I did both Taco and Truman at the same time. One under each arm.
Very good.
I'll have to post that later.
Okay, looks like we have the whole crew back, and producer director Liz is here as well behind the scenes, giving us the thumb up as well. Oh, that's kind of rude. Okay.
Should you get more than a thumbs up there?
I'm making it up.
Okay.
Just to kind of throw some spice into this. Okay, let's see. Let's go to
I guess I should get
this. She says we're just like 2 minutes from the 1 hour mark, so we're doing well. Okay, here we go with the feedback bumper.
Captain, incoming message.
Right, first item in the feedback folder from Andre. He says, "Hello, fellow aviators. My son, as part of his engineering degree, is busy with a paper regarding EFBs. Could all of you perhaps complete this short survey to help him? Thanks." This is from Andre Baker. And he gives us a link, which we're going to have ITSN in the show notes for all of you professional and, well, I don't know if you have to be a professional, but just pilots out there that use EFBs. Please do the survey. I just did it yesterday. It was easy. It was like,
It's 9 questions. I'm taking the survey right now.
yeah, it's like super easy, it's super quick, and it'll help out Andre's son and his engineering degree. So if you don't mind, if you're listening to the show now, hopefully the survey will still be active, and you can just click that link in the show notes and it'll take you right there. So there you go.
Now, it's interesting. He doing his engineering degree, he's writing a paper. Shouldn't that be he's writing an electronic? Because he doesn't actually write paper anymore.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
And it's about electronic flight bags. So
that's been the case for a long time, but it's one of those things where, times have changed, but our English vocabulary has persisted on.
Right. Like we're taping the show right now, but there's
there's no tape.
Yeah, we need to move with the times, folks.
I will never forget, because I should have known that I was going into medicine at a very early age. I think it was 5th grade. We had a handwriting class, and I got not such great marks in that class. And our teacher was very insistent that you must learn how to write nice, neat cursive, because when you get to college, you're going to have to write all of these papers. And if they can't read what you're writing, you're not going to get a good grade on it. By the time I got to college, everything was typed. I was like, take that.
Yeah.
I can type like 100 words a minute.
The only thing was they couldn't read your signature, so you didn't get a score. Is that right?
I still can't read my signature. Sorry. Seems to work.
Okay. Well, let's see. Let's move on to item dose. From Larry, he says, I know that there are issues above 78 degrees, 15 minutes north or south, but this seems to be a westward problem. Don't go west, young man, he says. This was a link to an article, which I believe they've worked out by now. This is a little while back, but it's still interesting anyway. And again, this is from Larry Gregory in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Boeing 737 next gen airliners, not the MAX, but the earlier models that are still out there flying quite a bit, have been struck by a peculiar software flaw that blanks the airliner's cockpit screens if pilots dare attempt a westwards landing at specific airports. Amid the various well-reported woes facing America's largest airframe maker, yet another one has emerged from the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration, a bug that causes all pilots' display screens in the 737NG airliner family to simply go blank. That bug kicks in when airliner crews try to program the autopilot to follow what the FAA described as, quote, a selected instrument approach to a specific runway. 7 runways, of which 5 are in the U.S. and 2 in South America, in Colombia and Guyana, respectively, triggered the bug. Instrument approach procedures guide pilots to safe landings in all weather conditions, regardless of visibility. All 6 display units blanked with a selected instrument approach to a runway with a 270 degree true heading, and all 6 display units stayed blank until a different runway was selected, noted the FAA's airworthiness directive, summarizing 3 incidents that occurred on scheduled 737 flights to Barrow, Alaska in 2019. That was really the only one that was the biggest one, the biggest airport, and all the other ones that they had listed here in the U.S. Seemed like they were smaller airports. Wayne County in Ohio, Chippewa County in Michigan, and Cavern City in New Mexico. I don't even know where any of those places are, actually. Well, Wayne County would be near the Detroit area.
That's Detroit.
Yeah, but not Detroit. Was that Detroit? No, it's BJJ. So that's not the Detroit Metropolitan Airport. They don't have a west. Well, I guess they still do have Westerly Runway 1 that isn't used very often. Anyway, so there you go. They took the boxes out and hit them with a hammer, and it fixed the problem. So that's not true. They did not do that. But the problem was fixed with a software fix. and just thought it was Larry thought that was kind of an odd thing for that to happen. But
well, the thing I find odd, Jeff, is that it didn't just affect the navigation display or the flight management computer. All six screens. And I'm going, really? What common factor is there on all the feeds to those screens?
There must be some kind of connection with FMC, all the different screens, I would imagine. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, of course, Boeing haven't been the only ones to suffer. Airbus had problems with their screens. If you left them on for more than 149 hours, then a clock inside would go, oh, I need to be turned off and on again now to reset. So for a while, until they fixed that, which they have done, we had to make sure that when we left the cockpit, we turned all the screens off so that the next crew would have to turn them back on, and that fixed that problem as a temporary fix. But so there are software glitches. Nothing is perfect in this world, but generally speaking, there are workarounds. And I guess the answer with this was don't go to one of those runways.
Yeah, right. Don't enter that runway.
Yeah,
in the box, or don't fly there.
Don't fly. Yeah,
that's my fix.
Don't go to these places.
I'm not going to go to Barrow, Alaska. That's kind of a
I've been to
demanding
Barrow,
place
Alaska.
anyway. Have you?
Yeah, we had that was a fun trip.
Huh.
Mind you, the author of this particular piece puts at the end a human error, blah blah blah. AirAsia A330 Airbus navigation system thought it was 11,000 kilometers away from its true position. Well, the idiots entered the wrong latitude and longitude. You can make it go anywhere if you enter the wrong latitude and longitude. So I'm going, really?
And you would think that you'd be like checking to make sure that the distance on your flight plan and the distance displayed in your flight management computer would be close.
You would think, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But there you go. I mean, Airbus even make it so simple for you because the aircraft has a pretty good idea where it is. Certainly, it knew where it was left when it was turned off, and those coordinates come up. And so you've got something to work from. You don't have to compare them. And of course, now with GPS, it all happens automatically anyway. So
even in the old coal burners that Dana and I fly, if you enter the wrong, occasionally you'll be thinking that you're in your next destination or whatever, and you put that in for your present position, and the clue that it gives you is it goes re-enter that information that you just told me to put in the box, and that's like the first little red flag that goes off, and you go, oh, maybe I put look, I'm not in Pittsburgh, I'm in Atlanta. But you can override it, you can do it again, and I go, okay, you're
whatever you want if you're sure. So I actually
go ahead.
Just trying to think, that trip to Barrow, we went up on a Alaska Airlines 737-900, I think, or 800. I don't know. It was one of the models affected, but we landed on runway 7, so the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And we had to go around on the first attempt because it was very low visibility, and we flew the entire published miss on the way back.
Oh,
around.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's around high terrain around that airport, right?
No, it's right on the water.
Oh, I'm thinking of a different
Arctic
place.
Ocean.
What's that place that's like really high terrain and special airport qualification required? And
yeah, you're thinking of
in Alaska,
Ketchikan or something like that.
Oh, maybe.
No.
Yeah, this is not in the mountains. It's right on the Arctic Ocean.
Okay.
But it is. I forget what the latitude is. 71.5, something like that.
Something bay.
Yeah. But yeah, it was just a low fog layer, so it was clear until you got to like 400 feet above the runway, and it was all the way down to just around 200 feet, 150 feet. So
I thought maybe moose were on the runway.
that might have also been the case.
Is the plural of moose meese?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Dana's still trying to figure out that place that eludes us.
Yeah.
Oh, I should probably look. Anybody in the chat room help us out?
Someone asked about Juno, but I don't think.
Oh, I think it is Juno.
Is it Juno?
Yeah, it is Juno.
Juno's tough, but not as tough as the one I'm thinking about up and way out in the Alaska chain.
Yeah, the one that
something
that recently had an accident from a regional went off the end of the runway there.
Yes.
I think. Okay.
That's
not too far from Shemya. I I forgot which one that was. Anyway, I digress. So thank you, Larry, for sending us a link to that little article.
Cold Bay?
Cold
Yeah,
Bay?
Cold Bay.
That's probably it.
Cold Bay, Alaska.
There you go. How is it there? Cold.
Cold.
Now, here's an interesting one. This will be fun. Item number 3. Have you all seen the video? Well, if you haven't, I'm going to play it so everybody watching the video can share in this delightful thing here. Should spur some good discussion. And let me see. I got to make sure I pick the correct one. Here we go. Okay, y'all ready? Okay, this is a cockpit of Airbus. I think it's an A320. And the first officer is at the controls. They're 1,000 feet above the ground. He just turned off the autopilot, right, Nick? Is that what that little click, click, click sound was?
No, the cavalry charge is the autopilot. The click, click, click is a downgrade of landing capability.
Oh, okay. So is it still
basically from Cat 3 to Cat 1?
He's hand flying it though now, right?
Yeah, as soon as the cavalry charge was, that was him taking control, and the click, click, click was he could have done a Cat 3 landing if he'd been if he'd left the autopilot in, but the triple click means that there's been a downgrade to, in this case, Cat 1 since he's hand flying.
Okay, so he's coming in for a landing. I think it's supposed to be his first landing in this airplane. They are getting 400 feet, I think that is called out, above the ground. 100 above minimums.
Minimum. Too low. Flaps.
Is that something you normally hear?
Too low.
No.
Flaps.
Unless you got the wrong flap setting or got the wrong setting in the box.
Okay. Looks like the captain reached around and checked the position of the flaps.
No, he used the emergency cancel button to stop annoying warnings.
Okay. They touched down without incident. And there you go. So
there's a little button on the amongst those controls for the warning system that is called emergency cancel. And if you get a continuous warning that is spurious and you wish to get rid of it so it doesn't distract you, you can press that button and it will cancel it for the rest of the flight.
So I guess maybe this is, I don't know if this is a rule from Airbus or from your company's standard operating procedures or whatever, but is it, I'm just wondering, I've not flown an Airbus airplane. Is this one of those things that they should have gone around for with a warning like that so close to the ground or not?
Well, that's an interesting question.
Yes.
Because of course the captain can override any procedures if he sees fit. The normal GPAWS flat warning, I think, would probably be around 600 or 700 feet. Yeah, would that seem about right to you guys? Certainly the aircraft all flat warning would be a similar height. They were well below that, I think.
Yeah, they're only 100 feet above touchdown.
Exactly. So, and it may be the way the captain, he didn't even mention it. They may have already briefed that this was a known problem with the aircraft, and the way he just casually leaned across to an emergency cancelled it without saying continue or giving some instruction to his first officer indicated to me that they were both probably prepared for it, and the first officer didn't even question it. And
right.
In fact, neither of them did.
Nobody seemed surprised at all.
No. So either they're a dreadful crew, which I don't believe, because if you're a dreadful crew, you don't put this sort of thing up on YouTube.
Well, you know, I'm thinking maybe they could have put something along with it saying, oh yeah, you're going to hear this spurious warning that,
and here's why
we knew this is why. Yeah.
Yeah,
but they
exactly.
didn't, as far as I can tell, nothing was said about it. Maybe they just did this on purpose to see what kind of comments it would generate.
Yeah, exactly. Now, what happens often, if by mistake, is that when you enter your landing configuration, you type into the box what flap setting you're going to use for landing. If, for example, you have left it to go to full, which is what it defaults to, and you make a late decision to hold your flap at flap 3 because, say, it might be wind shear. That would be a reason for keeping your flaps at 3 and not selecting the final flap setting. You are going to get one of these warnings because you need to change it in the box.
Okay.
And tell the box you're going to do a flap 3 landing, and then the warning will be inhibited because you've now got the correct flap both in the box and in the selected.
So the default is the full flap, and then so that it just defaults to that, and if you're going to do something less than that, then you should update the box.
Correct. For example, the absolute classic for us, because we're well practiced at it, you get an engine failure after takeoff. We run through the engine failure drills, and you stabilize the aircraft, blah, blah, get it all sorted. You level off, do an acceleration, you clean up, and then you do the after takeoff checks. And usually at the end of the after takeoff checks, the instructor says, okay, that's fine. Now I'll reposition you and you can do an approach. At the end, during those after takeoff checks, it's very common for us to say, right, we're going to make another approach here. So we'll immediately activate the approach phase. So the aircraft will know that it's going to go into the next approach. And at the same time, we will change the landing flap to 3, the correct flap for an engine out approach. And that will stop this warning from happening. So I don't think that was the case in either of this because the warning came so late. I think it was a spurious problem. It may have been a flap indication problem that they knew about, so that it might have been a position sensor on the flaps that indicated the flap was in the wrong position, which then generated the warning. I'm not sure, but it obviously something similar to that, I would say.
Wow, that wasn't as controversial as I thought it was going to be.
No, okay.
Okay. All right, nothing to see here. Just move on.
No, not really.
It was fine.
I mean, I assume someone with more technical knowledge or a trainer who
that sounds reasonable to me.
might well say otherwise.
Yeah, because the captain, as you said, it was very nonchalant. Nobody seemed to be upset about the fact that they were getting this warning, and he just kind of, as you said, disconnected or canceled the warning, and then they continued.
Now, I have to say, if you want a bit of criticism, and I think what might be due, I would have liked to have seen him say, that's a flap warning, which we expected. Flap is at full, flap is selected, continue. Yes. I would like to have to acknowledge the warning and not just ignored it, because you never know. It could have been a real one. And you need to satisfy both of you that you know exactly what the situation is. So that would be my criticism. Even if they were expecting it and I had briefed it, they need to acknowledge that it's happened, and so they both are on the same page with regards to the correct action to take.
I agree with you 100%. Okay, well, that means we can move on then to this one. And the only thing I can say about this one is
brilliant.
This was sent in by Richard Nash. He goes, what are your thoughts on this? And I'm sorry. Nope. From Sean. I forgot to advance.
Next item.
The previous one was sent in by Richard.
We need the little beep that they had on old school slides and things, videos where you had to advance the slide with the narrator.
No, that doesn't sound right.
Not quite right.
Let's see. So Sean writes, obviously this gent has no understanding of the FAA's culture / mentality. And an aviation maintenance student, Frank Jalian Amaro, has been charged with bribing a Federal Aviation Administration designated mechanic examiner in exchange for receiving a passing score on the FAA's airframe and power plant examination. The integrity of America's civil aviation system is of paramount importance, said U.S. Attorney Young J. B.J. Pack, by allegedly trying to bribe his way into obtaining an FAA certification to repair aircraft. Amaro put his personal ambitions ahead of the safety of others Blatant actions that seek to circumvent FAA certification requirements will not be tolerated, said Todd A. Damiani, Regional Special Agent in Charge, U.S. Department of Transportation, Office of Inspector General. Together with our prosecutorial partners, we are committed to identifying and preventing those individuals willing to compromise the safety of the national airspace system and the traveling public. So, according to U.S. Attorney Puck, or BJ as he likes to be called, the charges and other information presented in court, okay, let's get to the brass tacks here. What happened? As part of its responsibility to protect
little further down, actually, I think. Oh,
okay,
that one or the next one. Amara was
okay.
a student at a.
Yeah. Why don't you take over? Thanks.
So he was a student at an aviation maintenance school in Las Vegas, and in late 2019, he was preparing to take his examination for his FAA airframe and power plant certificate. On November 19th of that year, he contacted an FAA designated mechanic examiner in the Atlanta area to go ahead and take that test. But he used an alias and spoofed phone number and offered to pay the FAA examiner a bribe payment in exchange for receiving a passing score on the airframe and power plant examination. The FAA examiner immediately reported the bribe solicitation and thereafter agreed to work with federal law enforcement authorities.
So how much did he say he was going to pay?
He offered $500 up front and $2,000 on the day of the test.
Ooh, $2,500. That's a quick $2,500 right there.
Mm-hmm. And he actually did send the examiner $500 via a mobile payment service on December 9th. And then met him in person and paid him the $2,000 in cash. And then he was
busted.
Yeah. Is the exam that hard that he felt? I mean, I don't know the level of difficulty of these.
I would expect that if you've done the work and you put in the time and effort towards studying, it might be a challenging exam still, as it probably should be.
Too bad that Miami Rick isn't here because I think he has an A&P.
He does.
Certificate. Yeah. He could tell us exactly how difficult or not it is.
I mean, I can only go by hearsay, but I gather, there are an awful lot of places you can get all the questions that you're likely to get asked in these exams. And if you go through them all, then and pass them all because you've got the answers and the questions, you've got a good chance of getting through the exam. But I guess by doing that, you have to absorb an element of knowledge at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, if you're studying the potential question bank in that way, even if it's not the exact questions you're going to get, you're going to learn a lot of the knowledge by taking practice exams and whatnot. I've known, I've known a handful of people who have gotten their A&P and they're all reasonably intelligent folks, but I've not heard any of them say that the test was so challenging that they thought they were in danger of not passing it.
This will be a lot easier to just reach down in my wallet.
You got $2,500 in there?
No, I got a bunch of pieces of paper, but they're not.
Save that for toilet paper.
They're not money. Oh, yeah, that's true.
So it's worth something.
They're credit card receipts. Anyway, so yeah, not a bright thing to do to try to bribe your way through an examination. Not the first time it's been tried, and it's not the last. And I know that it's happened on the other side of things as well, the pilot side of the fence.
Yeah, I mean, that's a mentality I'll never understand. You got to.
But I'd just like to congratulate the examiner on his integrity for reporting
absolutely.
this.
I agree. All right. Item 5. Both John and Richard sent a link to this video into us.
Oh, this is a doozy.
This is. And maybe this is the one I was thinking would generate a lot of discussion. John in Baltimore and Richard Nash. Well, let me start with John in Baltimore. First off, I'd like to wish my best to Captains Jeff and Dana during these unprecedented times. Here's hoping that the corona effects on the industry are short-lived and everything gets back to normal soon. We agree. Wanted to share this clip from VAS Aviation of a pretty appalling interaction between a controller and a pilot that declared an emergency. I have to commend the pilot because if I was in his situation, I would not have been as patient as he was. Fortunately, things worked out, but the controller certainly didn't help. This clip reminded me of the incident at Atlanta with the E-175 where the controller was asking all kinds of questions. Except in that case, the controller didn't get an attitude with the pilots. At any rate, wishing you all the best, and to the APG community at large, stay healthy and stay positive. This too shall pass. Again, that's John in Baltimore. And then Richard Nash said, I'm sure you will have had this sent to you by many others, but I thought the controller was a lot better than others I've seen. He was very calm. He didn't ask a load of unnecessary questions like a lot do. What are your thoughts? So he's kind of coming at it from a different angle. And so let's do this. I will also share this video because it'll help, because it has some, what do you call that? The closed captioning.
Annotated.
Yeah.
Closed captioning.
Yeah, closed captioning kind of thing. And that will help out with subtitles. Thank you, Liz. You know, a lot of people don't know this, but half my brain resides in Liz's head.
And we're so sorry for you, Liz.
Poor Liz. That's what I was thinking. Poor Liz.
Poor Liz.
Probably not.
She needs a pay raise for that. Or a stiff drink.
Let's see. Here we go. Boom and share. There we go. And let me make this a little bit bigger.
That's what she said.
All right, here we go. This is from Bass Aviation. The METAR looked like pretty.
Tower 3927, turn left heading 270, join Victor 6. 270, join Victor 6, 3927. I'm requesting direct flush if able. 3927, unable.
Now, perhaps I should set this up a bit. This happened off of the island of Maui in the Hawaiian island chain. And it was a training flight, a Cessna 172, I believe. Is that right, guys? Not absolutely positive on that, but here, let me scroll down, see if I can find the answer to that question.
I didn't see it in the...
Yeah, I don't know why I thought it was a 172, but anyway, it doesn't matter. It was a training flight, and they had just taken off from Kahului, I believe. Is that the way you pronounce that? Kahului.
In Maui.
In Maui. And they were out north of the island doing some work, and then we hear this.
Three 3927, declaring an emergency, turning around direct Kahului Airport. 3927, enter left base, runway 5. I need vectors right now, 927. 3927, left turn, direct Maui Vortex. I need a vector, sir, 927. 927, turn left, heading 140. Left 140, 927. 927, go ahead with the nature of your emergency. I am spiral descent, and rain and turbulence, 927. Okay, so you're not experiencing mechanical, it's weather related. That's affirmative, 927. Give me that vector one more time. A3927, fly heading 090. Left turn, 090. You want it left or right? November 3927, fly heading 090, left turn. 090, left turn. We're at 4,000 feet and a hard descent, 927. November 3927, affirmative 4,000, fly heading 090. 090, 392. November 3927, ATIS information is Charlie, and I assume you want to do the ILS approach runway 2. I need vectors for a visual, 927. November 3927, the Kahului Airport is 2 o'clock, 10 miles. Report to Kahului Airport in sight. Negative contact, 927. November 3927, report to Kahului Airport in sight when able. We'll go 927. November 3927, advising of information Charlie. Working on Charlie, 927. November 3927, roger. November 3927, are you experiencing any turbulence at this moment? Light turbulence, 927. What were you experiencing? IMC, light turbulence, light rain, 927. No. You said emergency to the northwest. Was it severe turbulence or something moderate, or what was that to the northwest? Stand by. We can talk on the ground. 927. 927, roger. ACS, 3927 has the airport in sight intermittently with clouds between us. I can see the beacon currently, 927. ACF approach, 927. November 3927, go ahead. Airport in sight, off mine, 3 o'clock. There are some clouds between us, but I've currently got the beacon in sight. November 3927, so visual approach, runway 2, enter right downwind. That's not helping me very much. Give me a vector, give me an altitude to fly, and I'll fly it, 927. Yeah, I'm not, I don't understand. You told me about the airport in sight, and now you're asking me for a vector. Which one is it? I declared an emergency. I told you I got the beacon in sight, and there's clouds between us, so it's intermittent. Give me a vector, give me an altitude, 927. Do you have the airport in sight or not? Which one is it? I don't anymore. Okay, 3927, cancel approach clearance, maintain 4,000 feet, turn right heading 140. Right, 140, 4,000 feet, 927. 3927, check the altitude. I'm showing 3,700 feet. That's an incorrect altitude. Maintain 4,000 feet. I'm climbing to 4,000 right now. Listen, I declared the emergency. Take a deep breath. Get me out of it. 3927, maintain 4,000 feet. Maintaining 4,000, 927. 3927, let me know you see the airport. 1 o'clock, 7 miles. Will go. Thank you, sir. You know what, 3927, roger. (927) with the airport in sight. Be advised, there are layers of clouds both above and below my altitude. 927. 3927, I want to clear for the visual approach. I'm going to clear for the visual approach. The visual approach, runway 2, into right downwind. Runway 2, right downwind, 3927. 3927, roger. November 3927, contact Maui Tower. Maui Tower, 927.
And they landed safely on runway 2. Now, it's interesting. I'm seeing a lot of different takes on this, and you'll see that also if you look at this, which will be linked in the show notes to Bass Aviation's YouTube channel. You can see a lot of commentary going on there as well. But the first thing I have to say, this is a pilot that got into a situation which was pretty, I don't know, shocking.
It was, well, above their skill level, above their so it sounds like they were not trained for or equipped to fly in IMC, and they entered IMC inadvertently, was my take on it, even though it doesn't say specifically, and
like it, yeah.
caused some disorientation for them, and he wanted vectors back to the airport to get out of the weather he was experiencing, and that's what he was looking for initially when he declared the emergency and contacted HCF approach.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the thing that we always talk about in these situations, when I guess our controller friends will tell us, well, we're required to tell you that the ATIS information is Charlie. But as a pilot, I would just say, if there's anything significant in that, would you let me know what it is? Because I'm not going to take the time to take my eyes off of everything to tune in the ATIS frequency to pick up information Charlie. But again, I understand their point of view as well. I have to say that. I guess. I don't know. But it just seems like an inappropriate time if you're in the midst of an emergency to ask the pilot to get ATIS information, Charlie. But that's just maybe.
I mean, I'm just going to put myself in and I don't know. Yeah, it sounds, there's some speculation. Is there some history between this tail number and the controllers in the area? I have no idea of any of that. But if I was in this particular pilot's situation and this was me, I'm a newish private pilot or in a training situation, and I find myself in something like this where you're obviously, it sounds like his confidence is rattled a bit and certainly doesn't want to end up back in IMC, and he's looking for a way to get around those clouds and basically asking for that. He needs to be very direct with that controller and say, hey, I am unable to, the controller said unable to another flight or to that flight earlier on. He needs to say unable. I need a different altitude or a different vector to get around these clouds. I will do the visual approach, but I need to maintain that visual contact with the runway the entire time. I can't go back into a cloud layer because I could end up disoriented again.
I think communication, I think you've nailed it, is the key here. I don't think either the pilot or the controller had perfect communication.
No.
I think that there's blame to be put on both sides. I kind of see the controllers kind of getting a little upset because the guy says, I have the airport in sight. And what that triggers that's telling the controller, I have the airport in sight. That means I can maneuver from where I am visually to land at this airport.
Did he say airport in sight or beacon in sight?
He said airport in sight.
Mm-hmm.
Did he?
And
Okay.
he said, and there are clouds between me and the airport, but I do see the beacon. So he did say airport in sight a couple different times. And so and then the controller's going, well, wait a minute. You just told me that you had the airport in sight. So I think that was probably the trigger, and the fact that the pilot, I think in my mind, was the first one to kind of come back in a very, I don't know, snarky way with something. And I understand he's kind of shaken up, as opposed to the controller being in this nice controlled environment where this guy is probably shaking in his boots, trying to get the airplane back on the ground. So, perhaps the controller could have been a little bit more accommodating and saying, okay, tell me what you need, let me know.
Yeah, I think the failure on the controller's part here was to not recognize how shaken and rattled this guy was. He did a good job of being calm and collected in his radio transmission, but clearly he was not comfortable with the situation. And maybe that's a hindsight thing. When you go back and listen to it, it's easier to tell. But I think that was where the controller was not reading that situation.
Or he could have said, the pilot could have said, look, I see the airport is in sight. I can kind of, but not completely. I'm not ready to proceed on my own. I still need vectors until I get a little bit closer to the airport. And I'm sure that I have the airport in sight and can keep it in sight. But that communication wasn't there. So the guy just kind of relied upon the fact, boom, I hear him say airport in sight. Okay, clear the visual approach. Well, now, blah, blah, blah. And then he starts getting really irritated with the controller at that point. I don't think the controller was trying to be an ASSHAT, like someone said in the chat room. It's just that he's frustrated because he's going, okay, well, what do you want? I'm trying to help you here. But his tone of voice didn't come out across that way, but neither did the pilots. So
no. And the pilot did ask multiple times for vectors and was not given vectors per se. He was given things that perhaps he could not do.
Yeah, like he said, request vectors, and he says, okay, clear direct to the Maui VORTAC.
VORTAC, yeah.
That's not what I said.
No, that was not a vector. Yeah.
So I think a little bit of frustration all around. What do you think, Dana?
I don't think anymore.
Okay. Well, that's good.
No, I'm only kidding. Yeah, I think it's a scenario that almost seems as though they were abrasive towards each other right from the beginning. And it just seemed that the controller really didn't believe in an emergency. And I with everything you guys said, I agree 100% because it wasn't treated very well by either side, I think.
But at the end of the day, the pilot's going to end up in a smoking heap and the controller's going to go home to his wife. So in my mind, I don't care just what the pilot said. The controller is the one that needs to keep his calm and give as much aid as he possibly can. Now, if it turns out that the pilot was overreacting dreadfully, well, when you declare emergency, there's going to be paperwork that follows. There's going to be some form of explanation as to how he got himself into that situation. So he will need to explain himself. But the controller, I think, had that pilot died, the controller would have found himself in, I think, quite deep water, because I don't think he did everything he could to try and assist that pilot, having, after the guy declared an emergency. I can perhaps understand why he might have been a bit annoyed at the pilot, and perhaps there was a bit of history between them in the past. I don't know. But because that's what it kind of felt like. They were both a bit flippant with each other, a bit offhand with each other. But when push comes to shove, if the bloke declares an emergency, I don't care whether he's your worst enemy in the world. You get him safely on the ground. That's your job, and that's why you're a professional in the tower, not, let your personal feelings or annoyances get into the way you work, or should get into the way you work.
100%.
That was very well said, Nick.
And if you believe the comments by the folks in the Vass Aviation YouTube channel chat on this particular video, somebody at some point says that the controller is no longer employed by that control.
Interesting.
Place. Yeah. So
interesting.
Anyway, so again, I'll still stand by. You know, I'm not going to say who was more at fault than the other, but I think there's some fault on both sides.
I think there's a lot to be learned from this on both sides, whether you're a pilot or a controller.
Just communicate. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you want me to do, and you know,
give the assistance that's being asked for.
And the controller.
And if you're on the side asking for assistance, be very. It's hard when you're in a stressful environment, but the more help you can give to whoever's trying to help you, the better.
Right. Yeah. Bedside manner by the air traffic controller was not the best.
No.
Okay. Item 6 looks like was next. Texas Anlashock. That says, greetings, Captain Jeff and the APG crew. The recent feedback about Airbus's experiments with blended wing bodies sparked a memory from years ago. There was a guy I met on a mission in Southern California who worked for Boeing. There were a number of such people there at the former McDonnell Douglas plant. Another one, part of the design team that turned the DC-9 into the MD series, even had a chunk of metal from the wing of the first MD-80 embedded in his head. No, on his bookshelf. I'm sorry. This guy had he was a little bit too close during the tests. Yeah. This guy had a model in his living room of a plane I'd never seen before. When I asked him about it, he described it as a blended wing body, or BWB. In addition to the increased efficiency, the thought was that they would be able to fit larger passenger loads as well. Reportedly, they'd floated the idea by a number of airlines, but hadn't had any takers.
Well, you're not supposed to float them. You're supposed to fly them. That's obviously the mistake they made.
Oh, yeah. The floating is like a balloon or a...
Yeah, or a boat.
Blimp or a boat, yeah. Okay. The military, of course, loved it, but apparently airlines are more hesitant to take on radical new changes. At least they were then. Who knows? Maybe now's when the time has come. Jumping tracks, some not long ago, let me read that again. Jumping tracks, some not long ago, I referenced the launch of Breeze Airways, and now I found an interesting article from Runway Girl Network, which has him stating that he'll be fine flying on a 737 MAX once it's got all its issues worked out and is recertified. I have to say, right on. I'm right there with him. My thought this entire time has been, even with the problems, the MAX is still safer than your car.
What kind of a car are we talking about?
I don't know.
A Ford?
Your car. He's talking about your car, Captain.
No, my car's very safe. I'm sorry.
There you go. Jumping again. Well, let's see. Texas Anlashock jump. I just heard something interesting on another podcast I listened to, The Cabinet of Curiosities.
Oh, I like that podcast. It's good.
Which does little 5 or so minute segments on little historical tidbits. In this case, it was talking about Hedy Lamarr, who, among other things, like inventing, acting, and serving as the basis Disney used for Snow White, also worked with Howard Hughes on modifying the designs of some of his planes because she didn't think they looked very fast. I looked this up to try to find some more details, most of which I found was about her invention of the frequency hopping spread spectrum, which years later led to Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. She was very smart. But there were just general mentions of her time with Hughes. Does anyone know specifically which aircraft she had a hand in? I've seen mention of her developing modifications for the Concorde, but again, nothing specific. I don't know any of this. Does anybody on the crew? Maybe somebody listening?
No.
Not me.
Okay. Finally. Yeah, Nick?
No, I was just going to say I did know she was a very clever lady and that she had invented some stuff, but I've no idea what aircraft she worked on. I'm sorry.
Okay. Maybe she was the one that put those wings on the back of a Cadillac, to make it look fast. No,
Right.
I'm just kidding.
It does look fast. It's lovely. I want one of those.
Finally, apparently the parts for the last Airbus A380 have arrived at the final assembly plant. Once it's complete, the program will have ended. Fortunately, there are still plenty flying around the world, though recent events show you shouldn't take it for granted. They'll be there for as long as you might think, or they may not be there as long as you might think. Anyway, I think that's enough for now. Otherwise, this could go on forever. Wishing you all clear skies and smooth landings. This is Texas and LaShock signing off. Thank you, Texas and LaShock. Anything to say about any of that stuff, folks?
No, it's just an amazing thing. When you think of her as a Hollywood actress and a famous one at that, and a very beautiful lady, to find out that she had a real mind in there as well. Brilliant.
Yeah, and all kinds of different things, you know.
I had no idea. I'm thinking, I just knew she was an actress, but wow, quite something. All right. 7, Christian. Hi, gang. Okay. As I'm listening to episode 411, I have to admit I'm a little behind. However, in listening to the first news item discussion about liquids being spilled on the center console, Captain Nick referred to the, quote, multifunction box going U.S. I was thinking, what does he mean? What does U.S. mean? United States? Unserviceable? Then, as a non-American, it all made sense. USA stands for Unserviceable of America. No, I don't think you have that right, Christian.
Only partly right.
Yeah, Christian base in Lower Canuckistan. Or Canada. Uh-oh, now we got Nick going. He's going to expire as we watch him on the video.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, see, that makes me want to cough.
Well, at least Steph's right above him, so she can do CPR.
So
yeah, I'll just
jump on my head.
No.
So yeah, that's a term that we don't. Kind of ironic. Those of us in the U.S. don't really use the term a lot. We usually say something's broken or not working or something like that, not unserviceable. But I noticed right off the bat with when Nick joined the show, he used the term a lot, unserviceable. And then I noticed in NOTAMs that's a term that's used a lot in NOTAMs as well. If something is U.S., it's unserviceable, which means it doesn't work. Don't try to use it, silly person.
It's just not really part of our vernacular.
No, it's not.
It's understood, but
yeah, exactly.
That's another US understood.
It is.
Very good.
Indeed. Now I'm confused. Is this unserviceable, understood, or the United States? I'm so lost.
I am too. Well, thank you, Christian, for making it even muddier. This is from ATN. Let's see. Greetings to the APG crew from snowy Montreal. I've been listening to your podcast for the past. I want to hear Steph say Montreal.
Montreal.
Oh, see, I knew she could do it.
That was bad. I don't know.
I can't do that.
Bad feedback from.
I've been listening to your podcast for the past year. I must say that I really look forward to each new episode. I find it to be the right balance between tech talk, honest discussions, knowledge, and humor that makes the, what is it now, 4 or 5 hours go by so fast.
Wow.
Kidding aside, I wanted to take the time to send my thanks for the recommendation of one of your listeners on APG 411 regarding the DP Davies interviews on the Aero Society podcast. I definitely enjoyed it thoroughly, and I highly recommend it to anyone with an interest in aviation. I believe you talked about that, Nick, didn't you? And you got some of the information for your plane tale from it?
Absolutely. It's a treasure trove of interviews, not just of DP Davis, but of many fine aviators of that era. So there are some really, including Winkles, Eric Winkles Brown, the amazing test pilot. So yeah, go and listen to them. Some of them are fabulous.
I'll have to do that. I have not yet done that myself. So a good reminder.
Got plenty of time.
Yep, sure do. Let's see. He continues. If I can add a book recommendation of my own, I don't know. Should we let him add a book recommendation?
No, only if it's not about Concorde.
Well,
got enough books about Concorde.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, Etienne. Nick just vetoed your whole book recommendation. No, we're going to do it anyway because Liz is saying nope. We're going to do it. I would suggest Flying Concorde by Brian Calvert, probably known by many of your listeners, but a gem of a book for people interested in the unique history of the Concorde. Is that some kind of nonverbal communication there, Nick?
No. I love Concorde. I love
Okay.
listening about it and hearing about it and reading about it all the time.
Okay. Lastly, for those interested about coal-operated jets,
Ooh.
I mean, classic metal. Yeah, I like that. There is a great documentary on YouTube about, now, how do you pronounce this airline's name? Nolinar?
Nolinor?
Sounds like a
Noliner?
soap liquid, doesn't it? You use for washing up.
It does.
Nolinor.
Nolinor. 737-200 operations in northern Canada on gravel runways. And then he gives us a link to a YouTube video, which I watched, and ATN, they didn't take off or land on gravel runways.
No, I
disappointed.
was very disappointed. I thought we were going to see gravel flying everywhere and crunching around.
You have to search for some other videos because they're definitely out there with
Well, I think we should make Etienne look that up and
ice
send it to
runways,
people.
snow-packed runways, gravel runways. They do all
I
that.
think it was fake news what he sent
I
us.
think so.
By the way, I love the picture of that 7.3. Doesn't the paint job make it look like a little dumpy thing? I mean,
it is
well,
a dumpy
thing. It's a 737-200.
It's not the paint job, Nick.
Oh, okay.
It really is stubby.
But it looks really short and fat, doesn't it?
It is.
Yep. Well, that's why it was nicknamed the Fluff, the Flying Speed Brake, several other not very nice things.
I
Yep,
think
Dana?
it's a great little airplane.
Were you saying something, Dana?
No, Julie's just talking to me in the background.
Okay. Sorry. I thought you were trying to interject with something. So
No,
anyway.
you guys are doing a great job.
Oh, thanks. Let's see. He says, I work for one of the mining companies located at the northern tip of the province in Quebec, and we use both Nolinor and Air Inuit 737-200 combis as our main link with civilization, as the site's runway is not paved, which is CTP 9 or Donaldson Airport. I hope it can be of interest. Now, I think in that video they did land at one of these. No, I don't think so. It looked like it was a regular asphalt runway to me. Anyway, thank you for all your hard work and hope that I get to meet you one of these days, maybe for a poutine.
Now we're talking.
You know, he mentioned, or you mentioned pronouncing Montreal. I remember one day checking in with them, and I said, "Bonjour, Montreal," and the
you got
guy,
all French.
Exactly right. The controller came back and spoke nothing but French, and I kind of sat there going, "Oh God, what have I done?" So I then had to. I had to quietly admit that I didn't understand a word of what he said.
I'm wondering
Can we
if
go back to English, please.
He probably knew that you were.
Yeah,
he recognized the accent and he goes, "Watch this."
Yeah, exactly right. I'm exactly right why he did it. I'm sure there's nowhere I would have sounded like a French Canadian.
That's fine.
I don't think anything out of your mouth would sound very French at all.
No, not at all. No, even my kissing isn't very French.
Oh well.
Oh well. Hey, we're gonna ask Julie about that one.
Julie or Jilly?
Jilly. Well, yeah, Julie.
Oh, damn.
I heard
thought you
Julie.
said Julie.
Hold on. Julie,
Yeah, so
how,
did I.
how does Nick kiss? Is he a good French kisser? She's looking at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah.
Well, you are. All right, moving on. What was it we should say?
Family show, ladies and gentlemen. Family show.
Anyway, poutine is, remind me again, is that the French fries with the gravy on
Fries
top?
with the gravy, yeah.
French fries with brown gravy and cheese curds.
Actually, Dana and I had some poutine here in Charlotte at one of our meetups a ways back.
Yeah,
Isn't
we
that
did.
the name of the gland I've got swollen down on the side of my face?
Parotid, Nick.
Oh, that's parotid. Okay, you're right.
Poutine parotid. That sounds.
Is that a
That's
kind of
very
French fry
similar.
as well? A parotid fries?
I don't know if that would be very appetizing.
Oh, okay.
If you find some brown gravy on that thing, you should probably go to the doctor.
That's probably what's causing the swelling.
It could be.
Yeah.
Open the thing up and watch all
It's
this
a very
brown gravy.
technical, scientific problem.
Well, the doctor knows best.
Okay, now from our Canadian expert, she says French fried, cheese curds, and then gravy on top. I'm sorry.
And people think Americans are the unhealthy ones.
Yes, to melt the curds. Liz, how is that poutine? You said you eat it all the time, right? I don't think she's ever had it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm surprised she's lived as long as she has. If she
I know.
has.
It's actually not that easy to find. I mean, more now, but Toronto, it's actually more of an Eastern Canadian delicacy, I think, than it is towards Toronto and then French Canadian.
French Canadian. Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, KFC gravy. I love KFC gravy. That's good gravy. Ben Todd said KFC gravy on fries is next best in UK.
It's the English version of poutine.
I guess so. Let's see. What time is
with
it?
lobster on top. That's great. 10 minutes to 2 hours.
Okay. Then we should continue with we're knocking them out today. That's great. Mark, number 9, says, hi, APG crew. I was working at Northrop. Oh, I thought we were going to, let's see. Okay. Never mind. I was working at Northrop Grumman, NG, when the U.S. Air Force was buying the new air tanker known as the KCX project. Northrop Grumman had partnered with Airbus to bid on the project. Airbus needed a U.S. partner to be able to bid. The plane would be built in Alabama. I truly believe the Airbus plane was the better choice, but came down to political pressure. Although I worked in the shipbuilding part of the company, Northrop Grumman, they are a great company. They put lots of capital into our yard and changed the company culture in a good way. After 10 years, they spun us off and moved on to other defense areas. Looking forward to part 2 of the tanker story. Well, hey, that actually came the next episode. We actually did part 2. So
exactly.
Mark,
does that mean Mark was working on the blended body boat, being in the Northrop Grumman shipbuilding company?
Did they really have a blended body boat?
Well, we said earlier they were floating the blended body.
Okay. Could be. We'll have to.
I'm sorry, I'm referring back to an old and poor joke.
I like it though. It's good. Here, let's hear it again.
Doing my best. Yeah. Okay. I'm a poor sick man. Give me a break.
Okay. So that is from the better looking, more handsome Van Ram brother, Mark, or maybe Tim would object to that. I would say probably so.
Have we made that determination?
We need to have a contest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Send in some pictures, guys. We got it.
Yes. All right.
By the way, what happens when you get spun off? Is it nice? After 10 years, they spun us off.
I would imagine it depends on how quickly they spin you.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Item 10 from JJ, not Pittsburgh. Plain tales and motorcycles. Number 1, we actually got 2 pieces of feedback from JJ, not Pittsburgh. I absolutely loved the last plane talk about the mid-air refueling and hope to hear more of it. Piggybacking on the question last week about the most harrowing flying experiences you've ever had. What are maybe the worst crew experiences you may have had with a fellow pilot or flight attendant? Thanks, guys. Still love the podcast. I'm looking forward to hearing Rick as well. And then I'll just go ahead and do his second piece of feedback as well. Hey, everybody, this question is for Captain Dana. I'm a private pilot and a fellow motorcycle rider. Does Acme care about you riding motorcycles, or is it just a ride at your own risk kind of thing? Thanks in advance for the feedback. Cheers. What do you think, Dana?
Yeah, there's no specific policy. And oh, by the way, awesome to hear, JJ, not Pittsburgh, that you're a fellow knees in the breeze type of guy. Anyways, yeah, there is no specific policy as far as motorcycles go, whether you can ride or not ride them. There is actually another interesting note, another hobby is there is a specific rule on scuba diving in flying. You are not allowed to participate in any type of scuba diving within 24 hours of flying at the airline. So, but
Makes good sense. You don't want the bends.
Yeah, you don't want the bends, but that's one of those things that it's a written policy in our procedure, where in our manual, whereas motorcycles not. They probably prefer that we don't, because obviously it's a risky proposition. It doesn't take a whole lot for us to get medically injured to the point that we would not be able to perform our job. So
they just added a new one, Dana. I don't know if you've seen the new revision. We're not allowed to ride in steam-powered rockets. apparently.
Like, what's his face?
I missed that
Flat
one.
Earth guy?
Yeah, Mad Mike or whatever. his
Mad
name
Mike.
What
is.
are they worried we're going to discover the world is flat?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, probably. Flat Earth.
Let's see. Most harrowing flying experience with a crew. I think Steph's most harrowing experience fits that category, right? Because you were with somebody else. Didn't you say that you were you experienced something, but you weren't actually piloting command? You were flying with somebody else.
Oh yeah, that was when my friend tried to fly us into the trees after his go around off the grass strip. Yeah, that was crew experience, I suppose.
I would say the one that I would say is the most harrowing. I can't say on the podcast.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking, Jeff. I mean, there's a lot of things I'm just not going to talk about.
Yeah, but it was a doozy. Let me just put it that way. It was crew resource management at its worst.
Yep,
not good.
And I suspect most people have, varying degrees of how bad it actually is, but everyone has some story somewhere of when things don't go quite to standards.
I don't know what the statute of limitations
Probably
is
best
for
not to
my
mention it.
story. So
yeah, it's
so close to retirement.
I think after retirement you can probably
yeah. I mean, I'm sure Nick has some stories he can share because, well, he's retired.
True.
Yeah, but some of these people are still my friends.
And still working, perhaps. You might want to.
Well, the one I was going to tell, he's not, but he's still alive, so I might
Is it
wait
Nigel?
for a bit.
I'm just kidding.
No, I've got some pretty harrowing stories with Nigel. You're quite right. Yes,
I have some pretty harrowing stories with Nigel.
Yeah, one of which involved. You see, I was an air defender, so I didn't do a lot of ground attack stuff. This was when I was flying Hawks as a instructor. And I just done the one Turk on the Hawks, and Nigel was with me. We're on the same squadron. We flew together quite often. And one day we're in a Hawk buzzing around, and he said, "Let me show you what it's like to do a real, attack on a target." And I said, "Oh, okay." So instead of the usual 250 feet, he plops this damned Hawk down to about 70 feet and rattles along, doing his little map bit, where he thumbs along the map. And then he did a pop attack and dived onto this target. And I'm not kidding. He absolutely scared me rigid. And we must have nearly blown the tiles off this poor bloke's house that we attacked. And then hurtled out. And then, of course, he said, and then, of course, if we get engaged by a SAM or something as we come off the target, we do lots of jinking. And I'm sitting there going, he's going to kill me. I'm going to die. I'm going to die right now. Somehow we didn't. And I was very pleased about that. But he really did. He had me terrified. Oi, there he is. Oi. Love it.
Oi.
Love it. Very good.
Nigel is in the chat room.
Oh, damn. I meant that to be a nice surprise for him.
I knew he was listening. That's why I saw him post something earlier. So I
that's awesome.
Egged that on a little.
I don't know if he remembers that.
Well done, Steph.
He probably does.
Well done, Nige. Oh, yeah. Knowing I've only known Nigel for a short period of time, I know better than to ever get into an airplane with him.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'd have been happier if he'd been flying a TriStar, I must admit.
We were talking about doing some coffee fund crew logs for patrons. That's what I meant to say. I'll have to, since it's not strictly aviation related, when we were in Florida this past weekend, we were reminiscing about the time where we almost sunk a sailboat. So perhaps I will tell that tale in a bonus feature.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's one of my earliest childhood, one of my clearest childhood memories. I think I was 7 at the time.
My wife did sink a sailboat. I was in it. She was my very first time sailing, and we were already going out, and we got out of the middle of the Solent and then turned this damn thing upside down. I had to be rescued by the RNLI. So
ours wasn't. Well, we didn't have to be rescued, but it involves quite a few twists and turns along the way. So I will tell that story.
Excellent.
Oh, I look forward to that. Yeah. Okie doke. Well, I think it's now about that time in our show for this week's installment of the old pilot's plain tales, and this one is entitled the A320. And
Oh yeah, I'm just going to say apologies. This is very Airbus orientated.
oh, that's fine. We love Airbus here. Here we go.
I'm going to have to learn to love Airbus.
There you go. I mean, it's a great
Okay.
airplane. They're all great airplanes. I love this music too.
The old pilot's plain tales. The A320. Boeing was the most successful aircraft manufacturing company on the planet. The company was formed in 1917 and it went on to produce biplanes, monoplanes, metal aircraft, pressurized aircraft, jet airliners, many versions of military bombers, and entire generations of American families got used to climbing onto a Boeing to fly across the United States and beyond. Across the seas, there were few other serious options, and the Boeing brand could be found in almost every corner of the globe. The 60s and 70s were the heydays, with the arrival of the 727, 737, and 747. The 80s saw the 757 and the 767 hit the markets, and they were seen as unbeatable. But in Europe, a consortium of small companies saw something that Boeing might have missed. It may have started with the Concorde, which was to become the world's only supersonic airliner after the Tu-144 literally fell by the wayside, and Boeing's 2707 was cancelled after Congress pulled its funding as costs escalated and design goals fluctuated. The real beginning was the arrival of the A300, the world's first wide-body twin airliner, which ushered ETOPS onto the aviation stage. The birth of Airbus wasn't easy. European governments offered and then withdrew support, but by 1970 it had its name. Whilst the two companies fought it out in the glamorous long-haul arena of the mighty twins with the arrival of the 777, in the short-haul market, Boeing was seen by a few to be resting on its laurels. The 737 was a child of the 60s, and the MD-80 and 90, a derivative of the DC-9 from the same era. They were being stretched and upgraded, but underneath they were essentially the same first generation of early jet airliner. Inside the States, the legacy airlines were very happy with their product, but elsewhere there were markets for something new and exciting. Airbus saw an opportunity to completely redesign the modern airliner and take on the well-established dominance of Boeing. It began back in 1977 with the Joint European Transport. Yes, I'm sorry, it's spelt JET. With British Aerospace, Aerospatiale, Dornier and Fokker combining at the old Vickers site in Weybridge. They were going to collaborate in the formation of a 130 to 180 seat single-aisle airliner powered by two CFM56s. It was going to be produced in three variants, the SA-1, SA-2 and SA-3, and although they didn't realize it at the time, they would become the A319, the A320 and the A321. The project would morph into the A320 when Delta Airlines showed interest in working with Airbus on a 150-seater. Although from the outside, the A320 looked like a conventional narrow-body single-aisle airliner with two pylon-mounted turbofans. The approach taken by Airbus was far from conventional. The basic design was attractive in that it had a wider cabin by 8 inches than both the 737 and the 757. That's over 20 centimeters, which may not seem a lot until you climb into your seat for a long flight or realize that the Airbus can take the standard LD3 freight containers in its cargo hold. The overhead bins were larger than Boeing's, and the cockpit, an ergonomic delight, well designed and laid out, with glass instrument displays clearly visible without the presence of a large control yoke in front of them. The airframe was also very advanced, with considerable weight savings from the use of composite materials and aluminium alloys. The main area of difference, though, was in the design of the aircraft's flight control system. Gone were the great lengths of heavy steel cables, rods, and pulleys that connected old-fashioned flight controls to yokes in the cockpit. Instead was a fighter-type side-mounted control stick connected to 5 flight control computers, which fed commands to the control surfaces using a lightweight electrical wire. The A320 was to be the world's first airliner controlled by a digital fly-by-wire system. Airline pilots are, in general and by their very nature, a conservative bunch. They like to rely on tried and tested systems, and they resist change. Now they were being faced with a modern flight control system that they couldn't easily explain on a whiteboard, that they couldn't heft in their hands, tinker with, and adjust in the hangar, and it was going to take a little time in a classroom to understand. Despite having been around since the 60s and the days of the Apollo lunar training vehicle, Avro Canada's CF-105 Arrow, Concorde, the F-16, the F-18, the Space Shuttle, and many more, there was a lot of resistance to this technology. Most of this resistance came purely from a lack of knowledge and appreciation of what could be offered. And it has to be said that Airbus didn't do a great job of educating their customers. Then came a blow that redoubled the prejudice against this new fly-by-wire aircraft. Air France Flight 296. Airframe Fox Golf Fox Kilo Charlie was the 9th A320 to be built, and it first flew on the 6th of January 1988, 3 days before its total destruction. Air France was the A320 launch customer, and this was the 3rd airframe that the airline had delivered, and it certainly had that new aircraft smell since it had only been in service for a couple of days. The captain was 44 years old and had been with his airline for 20 years, flying the Caravelle, the 707, 72, 77, 37, Airbus A300 and 310. He was a highly distinguished training captain and had been appointed the head of training for the company's new fleet, as well as being their technical pilot. He had been heavily involved in the test flying of the A320, so he had a great deal of experience. His first officer was also very experienced and had qualified as an A320 captain 3 months prior to the crash. The aircraft had been chartered to fly 130 passengers from Charles de Gaulle Airport to Basel-Mulhouse Airport for a press conference, followed by another short flight to take part in a show at Habsheim Airfield. Most of the passengers were journalists and raffle prize winners, and for many members of the public, this was to be their first chance to see the aircraft perform. The plan was to complete a low-speed flypast at 100 feet with the aircraft in the landing configuration, a steep climb-away followed by a second high-speed pass in the opposite direction. Although they had busy weekends, they didn't receive their flight plans until the morning of the flight. The captain reassured his first officer, saying, "Don't worry, I've done it 20 times before," even though the investigation established that neither pilot had previously made a similar demonstration flight. The crew's pre-flight preparation should have included a study of Air France's regulations relating to their minimum overfly height, which was 170 feet, even though previous demonstration flights that the airline performed had been done at 100 feet. At Basel-Mulhouse, it wasn't until the taxi-out that the captain briefed his first officer on how he would conduct the flypast. He said that he would do the pass at 100 feet in flap 3 with the gear down and at maximum angle of attack. To achieve this, he would have to disengage the high angle of attack protection known as alpha floor. He advised the first officer that he would need him to handle the throttles and that the captain might also need assistance to overcome the stick loads that would be present. It would be the FO's job to initiate toga full power when ordered by the captain. In case you're wondering, alpha floor is an automatic protection applied by the auto thrust system which, regardless of the thrust lever position, applies full toga power when the aircraft approaches the maximum angle of attack. Below 100 feet, alpha floor is not available. There were some important omissions made. The captain gave no indication of a specific point where the climb would start. There was no task sharing mentioned other than throttle control, particularly as the flight crew consisted of 2 captains. Despite saying that he was familiar with this maneuver, the captain had never performed a flypast without alpha floor protection, which would have to be disabled for this low pass. The takeoff and short transit was conducted without incident, and then Flight 296 lined up for the flypast with the gear down, auto thrust off, and alpha floor inhibited. Unfamiliar with the airfield, they started their descent a little late. Passing 300 feet, the GPWS chimed as they had not yet selected flap 3, so it was turned off. The radio altimeter called the height as they passed 300, 200, and then 100. When the captain arrived at his briefed height, his first officer advised him, "Okay, you're at 100 feet there. Watch, watch." But the captain keeps descending, and all the while the throttles are at idle. The radio altimeter calls 40 feet. 15 seconds later, there's the distinctive noise of the thrust levers being pushed up to full power, and at the same time the radio altimeter calls 30 feet. The speed is now well below a normal approach speed. At this point, the aircraft engines are sitting at idle power, only 29% N1. In comparison, during a normal approach, the N1 fan would be rotating at between 40 and 70% N1. From their low idle position, it was going to take some time for them to spool up to full power, time the captain no longer had. As the engine started to increase power, the A320 started to brush the trees at the end of the airfield. The deceleration was significant, and the engines ingested leaves and branches, which caused them both to fail. The aircraft sank into the trees and disappeared, shortly followed by a huge fireball. Remarkably, there are only 3 fatalities. The inquiry establishes that the aircraft suffered no faults, the weather was good, the crew were well qualified, the flight controls operated normally, as did the engines, and that the pilots were primarily to blame. In his defense, the captain and others claimed that the flight recorder and the cockpit voice recorder had been tampered with, that the flight controls didn't follow his orders, and that the engines didn't respond correctly, all of which were not proven in court. In a final twist, prosecutions by French courts saw the captain, his first officer, 2 Air France officials, and the president of the flying club sponsoring the air show guilty of involuntary manslaughter. The rumors and falsehoods following this crash echoed around the world, particularly from parties not familiar with the workings of fly-by-wire. Experienced pilots who ought to have known better blamed the flight control system out of hand, and others bad-mouthed the A320 out of malice. Airbus pilots were often asked In all seriousness, if the thrust would often fail to respond, or if the aircraft would unexpectedly do its own thing, and the unfounded suspicion that surrounds the Airbus fly-by-wire aircraft still lingers, all completely unproved and unfounded. This didn't prevent Airbus from developing a whole family of other models based on the lovely A320. First, it was stretched to the A321 and the A325, and then shrunk into the A319 and the dinky little A318. The A320E, for enhanced version, had improved efficiency, and more recently came the Neo, the new engine option with another leap forward in efficiency. Despite the success of the A320, Airbus are looking forwards towards its replacement, tentatively dubbed the NSR for New Short-Range Aircraft, although the success of the Neo means that this development has been shifted to the back burner for a while. For the first decade of its life, the A320 family was significantly outsold by that of the 737, but by 1996, the difference was insignificant. The crossover came in 2002, when the Airbus began to outstrip the 737, and as of January this year, Airbus will have delivered over 9,000 of the A320 family to 330 different operators. Despite these little Airbuses only having been around since 1988, instead of 1965 for the 737, the Airbus A320 family orders have now overtaken those of the Boeing, partly, of course, due to the grounding of the 737 MAX. A great little aircraft, though, it has truly earned its place in history, and it's an aircraft that its pilots are rightly proud of. This plain tale was produced to celebrate the wonderful A320 podcast's 100th show. Congratulations to Matt and Andy and their team for creating such a high quality and enjoyable training tool. And I trust they will continue to pass on the word to generations of Airbus pilots. You can find the A320 podcast at a320podcast.co.uk.
Wow. That was something else. And that music, wow, I love that choice of music there for that.
Well, thanks to the US Marine Band. Thank you very much indeed, guys. Did a great job.
Was that the cannons from the Marine Band, or was that A320 crashing into the trees?
A bit of both, I think.
Okay. But I still refer to the A320 as the shoot, what happened? Oh, I forgot to bring this
tree trimmer.
Yeah, wait a minute. Satan with wings. Just kidding.
What?
Don't know.
Captain Al knows some hitmen. You do know that, don't you?
I'm just kidding. People know. I love the airplane.
What happened to the A325?
Yeah, I had the same question as Neil, and
okay, well,
never heard of it.
that was what the A321-500 was often called. So I'm using a colloquial term there. It wasn't actually the A325; it was the A321-500.
Gotcha. Like the 744 would be the 744-400.
Yeah,
right.
Gotcha.
Get it.
At least I'm pretty sure, because I'd never heard of it. I was going by the stuff that I had read about it.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Interesting.
But
please send a copy of that directly to Rick, because I want
it's too bad Rick
rebuttal on the next show.
Yes, I was just waiting. I almost, thought I'll slide away. Had Rick been on, I might have slid away and gone to bed before the end of the plain tale. But you have to bear in mind, I was making that plain tale for a bunch of A320 fans. So
enough of your excuses.
I had to lay it on a bit thick there. So apologies. Sorry about that, Boeing.
No, you're right there. Fantastic podcast. So Please check
Yes, it
them,
is.
check them out.
And fantastic podcasters
Mhm.
on that show. All right. Very good. Good stuff. Okay. Shall we continue with our feedback?
No, let's all
Carrie.
go home.
Sure.
Oh, we
No.
are
I
home.
think we are
Okay,
home.
then.
You know what? It looks like
There's
we're
nowhere to
going
go.
we're going to knock out all of it, I think, which is going to be like a
You
major
think so?
milestone.
Sounds cool.
Yeah,
You think so?
maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Let's just give it a go.
Optimism.
This one tried to get to last time and didn't make it, so we've got it this time. Rollo, private pilot Rollo here once again. I'm sending this feedback from the far reach. Oh wait, Liz, maybe you can put that overlay up. From the far reaches of the Western Pacific. I don't believe I've ever heard anyone send in feedback from this part of the world, so I thought it'd be cool to do it for the sake of our friends over at opposing bases, which, like secret location code names, we'll call this Pacific island Captain Nick Island in honor of the Air Force Base that's here with the same surname as the old pilot, only with a slightly different spelling. But you know what? This is the APG. It's Anderson Air Base on the island of Guam. Anyways, I'm out here.
You've given away all his secrets.
Yeah, I know. Anyways, I'm out here with my squadron, and the irony of it is that we're operating out of Captain Nick Island while turning wrenches on Captain Nick's favorite Boeing, the old legacy Hornets, or as we like to call them, baby Hornets. It's incredible that these old warbirds are still in service in many countries, or including the U.S. I've now gotten the opportunity to work on the C9, the Navy's version of the Mad Dog, the Super Hornet, and currently the Baby Hornet. On to a different topic. The other day, I went on a hike down a historic trail on the old Navy airfield, which is no longer in use. The trail took us through an old taxiway and runway threshold overgrown with a jungle. Now, we continued down the rugged trail, which led us to a World War II era F-4U Corsair crash site. The aircraft allegedly went down sometime in 1940 based on the little information I could find online. The main fuselage, half of each wing, and parts of the landing gear are still there. The engine, prop, and empennage are no longer there. This was a really cool experience and adventure, and we could feel the history that surrounds that crash site and the old airfield. Like always, I've attached a few pictures of our adventure to share with the APG community. And we have one up there right now if you're watching the video, and that's Rollo sitting where the, I guess, would the Corsair have an ejection seat? Probably not. They probably just bailed out of those things, right?
Yep.
So anyway, yeah, you can clearly see the wing spar on the Corsair, which has a very distinctive bend to it.
Yeah, wing crank. Yeah, it is. It's quite easy to recognize, even though it's in a pretty poor state.
Yeah. Had it not
Brilliant.
been
Lovely bit of
I'd
history.
probably say, I don't know what that is. But yeah, very cool. So if anybody's interested, you can see more pictures I posted on Instagram. And he says, feel free to add my handle to the show notes. And it's at ARODL81. Again, that'll be in the show notes. And let's see, in this chaotic time of coronavirus, wishing the crew and community unlimited health. Until next time, private pilot Rollo. And again, just check out the show notes and you can see the other photos that he has taken of the crash site and some signs, etc., from this beautiful tropical isle. All right.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Can I do a quick correction?
Yeah, sure.
On myself. The A325 was actually another name for the A321. So when they stretched the A320, they called it initially the A320-500, and the A325 gave it both names, but eventually it was called the A321. So that's where that comes from.
Very interesting.
Gotcha.
I had got it a little bit wrong.
Okay, wait a minute. I feel like we're
Yep.
Back up
There
to
you go.
50%.
Above 50%.
Yes,
It's
above.
not 50%.
Well, somewhere in there.
In that vicinity.
Give or take 20%.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the way we do it here. All right. Item 12. Gus. Now, this is an interesting one. Anybody want a game for taking this one?
No.
I'll take it because he's got a question for
Let's see
me
what you
first.
do it. Yeah.
He says, hi, APG crew and community. I hope you're all doing good. First, a quick question for Steph. I noticed it's been a long time since you went flying. I know. Any reason in particular? Don't you miss it? As a GA pilot, I cannot be more than 2 weeks without it. I would start shaking and sweating. Don't tell my medical examiner. Your secret is safe with us, Gus. I'll answer that real quick. Yeah, it's been a very long time, and part of it had to do with some family circumstances that were happening that were keeping me busy on my otherwise free weekends. I did a lot of travel over the past year, which I'm grateful for now because I think it's going to be a while without some of that. So I kind of satisfied that itch or bug that I was having for a while to get out and see lots of different places in the world and visit with friends and do all kinds of stuff. So I do miss it. I oddly enough have been planning to get back into it. I've updated my medical and all kinds of other stuff I need to do, and have been in touch with flight school. And I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to do that for the next little while. I'm going to call the flight school tomorrow and see if they're still. I'm still getting emails from them saying they're running specials on things. I think trying to get business, but I don't know if with some of these stay-at-home orders if that's going to be allowed. So it might be a little while longer. That's okay. That'll give me time to, I don't know, study up on some things and brush up on book knowledge side of things. And I'll get back into it. Don't worry. But yeah, it's I do miss it. So I'll get back there. Don't worry. Changing subjects, I stumbled upon this article and wanted to know your thoughts about any alternative source of energy for airliners. Do you think we are going to see any of this in the near future? And he includes a link to a yahoo.com lifestyle article. The title says forget fuel tanks batteries and batteries. This new electric jet concept uses air friction to generate power. You want me to go ahead and read through that? Yeah,
if you like.
Okay.
Sorry,
it's okay.
I muted myself.
This article says, while the most current trend in business aviation is all about creating the next generation of electric and hybrid power aircraft, excuse me, a new kind of space race could emerge if the physics actually support the theory behind Ether One. Designer Michael Bonikowski's concept is probably 4 or 5 generations ahead of the current mode of thinking, but Bonikowski told the Rob Report that he was inspired by the recent Maverick concept by Airbus. That aircraft's unique design helps reduce drag while providing more cabin space. I've been thinking a lot about this lately and wondered if that could happen what could happen if a big company would like to create an electric plane. So electric powered planes to take off as jet fuel costs rise. The race to design electric powered planes for the commercial market is taking off. More than a dozen companies are designing the, quote, eco-friendly aircraft, but Zunum Aero in Illinois says they aim to be the first. What the Warsaw-based engineer came up with is potentially revolutionary. Ether One uses friction between the air and high speeds of the jet as its primary source of renewable on-demand energy. While it looks like a jet from the future, the primary difference between Ether One and the contemporary hybrid aircraft are the triboelectric nanogenerators. I have no idea what any of that is.
Nailed it.
Yep. In the wings, the nanogenerators convert mechanical energy directly into electrical energy. The aircraft does not need large fuel tanks or large battery banks since it will generate electricity from air molecules in the troposphere and stratosphere. As Ether One travels at high speeds, his idea is to harness the friction generated from vibrations in the airframe and the bend of the wings. That energy will power the electric motors and recharge the batteries. This ready-made source of power means that Ether One will require smaller battery packs than aircraft relying on stored battery power. He concedes that this aircraft will need some battery packs during frictionless points during takeoff and landing. The concept may never fly out of the realm of sci-fi, but it demonstrates the same out-of-the-box thinking that powered the Wright brothers at Kitty Hawk.
Wait. I think we have some video of it coming in. Oh, here it is.
Oh, I know that sound. I didn't realize that was the sound of friction-powered energy conversion.
Ether One right there.
Ether One.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
I enjoy all attempts to revolutionize flying, and he also designed a new kind of rotorcraft called the Fusion Copter. So all kinds of ideas. We'll see what comes of it.
Yeah, the only problem I think might be physics.
Well, it comes from Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. So I don't know if physics actually is how it works.
Okay. Well,
apparently the tiny physical deformations that occur on the surface of an aircraft can be turned into electricity using tiny little piezoelectric devices that.
I feel like you'd have to harness a lot. Yeah, you'd have to capture.
Well, the
a
whole
vast
skin
majority
would
of-
presumably be made of these devices, or they would be embedded.
I wonder
in these
what that
devices.
weighs.
Nothing. They're completely weightless.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Wow.
So it's a lighter than aircraft to begin with. So
Yeah, that's right. So yeah.
What are you smoking, man?
Yeah, it's good. I'll tell you.
Well, I don't know. It's an interesting concept, I guess. We'll see if
I like the out of the box thinking. We need that
Yeah,
kind of stuff in the
I do
world.
too.
So even if it seems crazy right now, maybe it turns into something that's more realistic over time.
True. Well, thank you, guest from Argentina, for sending that in. And always good to hear from you. All right. Earlier we heard from JJ, not Pittsburgh. Guess what? We have JJ Pittsburgh now up. He sent us some audio feedback. Let's take a listen. Yep.
Hey, APG crew. It's JJ Pittsburgh here. It's been a little while. I've been busy with work.
I'm going to try that again. It'll make it easier for me editing.
Hey, APG crew. It's JJ Pittsburgh here. It's been a little while. I've been busy with work and came down with some pneumonia. So I was out for a while, really just catching up on Knight Rider episodes from the 80s. So anyway, with the coronavirus out, I was curious because I noticed a lot of flights have been flying with very little people, as a matter of fact, as far as I heard. So being that there's a reduction in that, there may be a reduction in flights. Do you guys have guaranteed pay as far as that goes? Like, say they had to cancel a bunch of flights. I was just curious if you had some kind of base pay that they give you as per your contract with Acme, or if you just have to fend for yourselves. I was thinking about you guys because, generally in all kind of industries right now, people are hurting. My friend's a bartender and she's out for 2 weeks because they closed all the bars here in Pittsburgh. So, I was just curious about that and just wishing you guys good health, and I'll be talking to you soon. Peace and love, peace and love.
Peace and love, man. Hey, don't you know that
If I could, I'd fly for free. La 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 la. Hee.
Just kidding. So yeah, we do have protection. We do have protections, which are very important.
That's what she said.
But in this case, it's pay protections. And so basically, if we are scheduled to fly a trip, let's say a 4-day trip worth 21 hours, and something happens like Dana's trip, the 21-hour trip that he was supposed to fly, which ended up canceling, it shrunk down to a 3. And then I don't know how much of it he actually flew. What, 2 days of it, Dana?
2 days of it.
Yeah. But you still got paid 21 hours because that was what the trip was supposed to be worth before you flew it. So yeah, we, again, going back to the union contract that we have certain protections and all kinds of different ways of ensuring that we get a reasonable amount of pay for whatever it is, even if we don't pay it, which doesn't sound reasonable, but we are, as Dana just kind of illustrated earlier on the show, we are obligated to basically stand by for a certain amount of time where the company can say, you know what, I know you're not going to fly the trip as scheduled, and we told you only had to fly the first days, or 2 days of the trip, but we want you to go out tomorrow and fly this, and they can do that. That's part of our contract and protections. But it's not a complete win-win for the pilots in this case, because as I said, and it just makes sense. It's reasonable for us to, be available to fly some more if that flying is needed. So,
like right now, Jeff, I'm on 23. I'm on recovery flying again, or at least I'm on assigned recovery. I don't know if I'm going to have a trip, but I am available to the company for today and tomorrow because of that.
Right. If Dana and I are both what we call regular line holders, we're not on reserve. In other words, If something happened and we, I think the minimum number of hours that we can be paid in this situation, even if we didn't fly anything, would be like 65 hours, I think, if you're on a regular line. If you're a reserve line holder, this varies from month to month, but I think it's usually around 72 to 75 hours of pay, whether or not you actually fly a trip or not. So I guess you can kind of call it sort of like a base pay or a pay protection.
Yeah, and I think we're actually 68 hours.
Oh, is it now? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, 60 something. It's not quite as much as it would be with reserve, but anyway. So that's the way but you have other advantages and benefits and opportunities if you're a regular line holder as opposed to a reserve line holder. So you have a little bit more control over your schedule that way. So anyway, good question. But as mentioned earlier in the getting to know us segment, we're okay. We do have pay protections, and unless the company goes down completely, we're going to be okay. So. Now that could change. Our union and the company are probably negotiating various scenarios and what we can do to help the company out as much as possible. But that's one of those things that has to be negotiated. So, good question though. Thank you, JJ Pittsburgh. And yeah, I'm glad you're better. I'm glad you don't have. Why is this saying? Is your email still? Okay, this is not a good time for Evernote to do this. Wow. Okay. Texas Charlie. He says, really? Since when do airliner lavatories have enough room to kneel down and lick a toilet? That's an interesting question. Why is he asking it? He sent us a link to this MiamiHerald.com article. It says, don't do this. Woman films herself licking toilet seat on flight to Miami for, quote, coronavirus challenge. An online influencer. I love that term, don't you? Are we online influencers?
I think so.
I think so.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
One of our fellow online influencers did really something very stupid. She has gone viral once again, this time for filming herself licking a toilet seat during a flight to Miami in what she called the coronavirus challenge. Ava Louise, who first made headlines in 2019 when she appeared on Dr. Phil, posted the TikTok video on Twitter on Saturday with a caption that read, "Please retweet this so people can know how to properly be sanitary on the airplane."
Ugh.
I don't think
I'm
that's
worried
what
about her grammar.
Yeah.
I'm worried about her mentality.
I'm worried about a lot of things with Ava Louise.
And would it, okay.
By the way, I'm an online influencer.
Influenza.
Yeah.
Good one. Is that a show title, Mabel? I don't, maybe.
Yep. Online influenza.
The 6-second clip shows the Instagram model squatting next to the airplane toilet, licking the seat, and then throwing up peace signs for the camera, all with Fendi sunglasses on her head. Since the video started spreading online, the Rutgers University student has done multiple interviews, essentially saying that she wanted to take advantage of all the buzz surrounding COVID-19 in order to get attention. Okay.
She's going to get more than just attention.
Yeah.
If she's looking.
Well, so here,
toilet seats.
I highlighted.
You might not get coronavirus from that, but anyway.
She also told the Miami Herald that she's felt healthy since the stunt and believes she was at no risk of contracting the coronavirus because it was a clean toilet seat on a sugar daddy's plane. I'm not sure exactly what that means. It sounds like maybe a private airplane.
Private jet.
And you know what? I bet that seat was meticulously cleaned before she filmed her video. What do you believe?
Probably.
Well, if she's got that much sense.
Yeah, then maybe not. Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Let's see. News 6 partner WDIV reports that you can't come down with the respiratory illness by sitting on a toilet, but the virus can live up to 72 hours on stainless steel and plastic, according to CNN. Yeah. I wouldn't play around with this kind of thing. That's kind of dumb.
Well, Captain Nigel believes she has actually contracted coronavirus now. Whether she did so from the toilet seat or not, but
Was it this
apparently-
person or it was someone else who did the same thing? I forget.
Well, he says she contracted coronavirus on Google News 8 hours ago. Oh, it's Google News gave her coronavirus. Okay.
Then Tom seems to think that that's another guy.
I thought it was a guy that got it.
Yeah. Was he licking toilet seats too?
Yeah.
Why? I don't get
influencer. No, this guy licked a toilet in California or someplace else.
Ah, I'd never do that in you know what? I'm pretty sure I'd never lick a toilet seat ever.
Oh, yeah, no, that's disgusting. Never.
No.
Obviously,
not a good idea.
Just no. Come on.
I do appreciate that Darwin is still at work. And
yes. The shallow end of the gene pool.
I'm grateful for it.
All right, let's move on before we spend any more energy than we need to on that one. Thank you, Texas Charlie, for that. Anyway, hey, Glenn, who I believe is still with us in the chat room. He's from Wellington, New Zealand. He sent us in some audio feedback, and let's hear what Glenn has to say, shall we?
G'day, Captain Jeff, Captain Nick, Captain Rick, Dr. Steph, Captain Dana, and producer Liz. It's Glenn here from New Zealand with some feedback. It's been a long time since I did feedback, so I thought it was about time I've done something. I see there's a new book out by the legend that is Roland White, Harrier 809. Listen to the Check 6 podcast, and they were talking about his new book, and it looks like a really good book for us Av Geeks. He's done some really great books, and he's also got another book coming out called Dam Buster 617 as well, which also looks really interesting. Harrier 809 is talking about a lot of declassified stuff from the Falklands War. I was at school when the Falklands War was on, so it was a great interest to see what the behind the scenes stuff. Apparently there's a lot of aircraft flying out of Chile, of all places. So well worth a read, well worth adding to the library maybe for Tiffany to add to the
airline pilot guy
library. Anyway, pleasure as always. Good to have Rick back at last. It's about time we brought the Rickets back out of storage. Anyway, keep up the good. Appreciate the podcast. Keep up the good work, of course, and stay safe out there, everyone. Let's not everyone get the virus. Anyway, Glenn out.
We fixed it for you in pre.
I noticed Glenn's accent changed a little bit during that.
Yeah, he mentioned another podcast library. I had to fix it.
I forgot where you were sending that feedback to.
You sound
it's all right, Glenn. We love you the same. Yeah.
So the book Harrier 809 has been referred to our librarian Tiffany. And again, the book Harrier 809, Britain's Legendary Jump Jet and the Untold Story of the Falklands War by best-selling author Roland White.
Excellent. That could be a good read.
Yes, looks like it's a good one. So,
and if you're looking for things to do with all this extra time on your hand now, you should check out that library and good stuff to work on.
Let's see, what do we call it? Here, I'm going to our site.
I forgot. That's why I was fumbling for a second.
Yeah,
I was
and I'm thinking,
going to try and say the.
Let me help her out. Wait a minute. Oh no, I forgot that I have to turn that off. Is it time for the end of the show?
Yeah.
No.
Actually, almost.
Because I'm not sure when bookshops will be open. I'm assuming you can probably get a lot of these on.
I know it is. I'm just kidding. Hang on. I just got to turn this music off. Now. I'm trying. I got to get to my window. Let's see.
You keep the music outside of your window?
He's got a personal band right outside his window.
He must have, yeah.
It's too hard for me to explain what's happening.
They're just on the beach with him there.
They'll be very upset when they find out what the pay is.
Yeah, not yet. All right.
It's just called the APG library.
Yes, APG library. How appropriate. APG library.
Gotcha. Yeah, hopefully a lot of those books are available on Kindle or Amazon or Apple
a lot of them
Books. Yeah, that way you won't have to travel out to a bookstore and you can do some reading in your spare time. Become more knowledgeable about aviation.
There's a lot of books in there.
Yes,
Mhm.
there are.
Excellent.
Tiffany's doing a great job. Thank you, Tiffany. Yeah, got lots of good stuff on the website. You should check it out sometime, people. All right. Not at the same time, though. Don't break it. So let's move on with the last item in our feedback folder. This is, woo.
Number 16.
Number 16. Miklos. And he was
He
with
was
us
in the chat room. I'm not sure if he
earlier.
still is or not.
Not. But anyway, he sent us this. Dear APG crew, hope you're doing well. A quick update from me. I've passed my commercial multi-engine instrument and multi-engine check rides.
Well done, sir. Good job.
Yay.
Bloody marvelous. Marvelous.
Super. Brilliant.
Brilliant.
Wow.
Okay. Let's see. Unfortunately, due to the whole Corona situation, the rest of my training has stopped. So it'll be at least a few months until I can continue with the multi-crew and jet orientation courses. On the bright side, I've finished the app I've been working on for the last 3 years. It's called Aviation Accidents, and it gives you access to the NTSB Aviation Accident Database and investigation reports from many different countries. It also sends you a notification when new ones are released. If you'd like to check it out, the website is www.accidents.app, and the App Store link, he gives us a link here. I'm not going to read that out because nobody will ever remember it, but it's in the show notes. And he very, very generously gave the APG crew some promo codes. So it's like it's a subscription model kind of thing. I think it's like $9.95 or something like that per year. And I've already downloaded it to the iPad and am now looking at all these wonderful NTSB incidents, accidents, and reports from other investigatory agencies. And it's very, very slick. So very nice job, by the way. And I've also left a review. So if any of you end up downloading it from the App Store, please remember to review it. And that way Miklos can get some more exposure out there. And anyway, so thank you for doing this service, Miklos, and I hope that you make some money at it as well. And he goes on to say, thanks again for the fantastic show. It helps me to keep my spirits up in these demanding times. I wish you all the best, stay healthy, and many happy landings. Kind regards, Miklos from Switzerland. Very cool. Is he here with us?
He is, yep.
Oh, nice. Okay, great. So check it out. I'm using the iPad right now for the soundboard, and I'm afraid if I pick this thing up and show you show it to you via the camera, that I'll mess something up. So, well, you know what, I can do it. Let's see. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. So it has a kind of a very utilitarian kind of approach. It has like little the date and what the incident is, and then if you click on the thing, it gives you much more information, a lot of detailed information about the particular incident and damage to the aircraft, fatalities, injuries, that kind of stuff on there. So I'm sure that we're going to be using it a lot for our show. So thank you for that extra tool that we have now, Miklos.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks for the promo codes. All right. And if you all want to download your own copy, there is a 7-day trial if you're interested for free. So check it out again in the show notes. With that, did I skip anything?
No.
You get it all today.
Wow. That's awesome. Okay. So with that, again, mentioning our wonderful website, airlinepilotguy.com, where you can find information about our podcasts. We have a special link to the APG on YouTube. Many of you watching the live show today via YouTube. APG Crew, Plain Tales has its own page, APG Library, which we were just talking about, the Coffee Fund, of course, and the APG Store. If you want to get a T-shirt or some other kind of merch, you can check it out over there. And a Contact Us tab, and the APG Community Calendar also has its own page. So let's see. We're also on the social meds.
We are. You can check out twitter.com. We are at APG Crew. We've got all of our individual Twitter information pinned to the top of that page. You can also head over to facebook.com/airline pilot guide. Lots of community members there. Everyone sharing news and information regarding aviation. And hopefully we'll be back to business as usual at some point in the near future. So we have more interesting things to talk about. There is an Instagram account also at APG Crew. And look at it, Dana's message there. We'll get to that in a second. You can also check out Slack.
Yes, we do have this thing called Slack, which is managed by Hillel. And I'm trying to find, where's the shower thing here? Okay, here it is. There's our hidden microphone. We have a hidden camera in there too. Don't tell Hillel.
Has he resorted to using the shower since you've reduced his toilet paper?
Yes, because that can work out, especially if you have a handheld attachment. And don't forget to wash your hands. There we go. He's washing his hands now for how many seconds, Steph?
20 seconds. Are we going to have to listen to this for 20 seconds?
There we go. No, we don't.
APG listeners,
he's going to tell us
please
about
join
Slack.
us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas. We suggest episode and Plain Tales topics. We plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com, or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Thank you, Hillel. And as always, make sure that you use soap. It's right next to the sink. Was that too soft? Let's see. There we go. Thank you, Hillel. Now you can head back. All right. Something else that we wanted to say before we sign off?
Yes, Dana is reminding you the most important thing to say before we sign off.
Okay. Oh, yes. Oh, very good. He's got his scrolling. What do we call that?
I liked the old school pen and paper. Can you put that one back up for Jeff? This is what distracted me during the social media.
Oh, okay. So I didn't have this screen up now. Thank you, Liz. Yes, our producer, director, and psychiatrist, psychologist in Toronto. Thank you, Liz. Without you, this show would be so much better. And I mean, no, it wouldn't be as good, is what I mean. Just kidding.
Totally.
Until I know, I'm going to catch it for that one. Until next time, be safe out there, please, everyone. Continue to listen to us and review us and send in feedback and be a participant in our community, because it's very, very important that we all stick together in this time of struggle and stress. All right. So with that, wishing you clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care and God bless.
Cheers, y'all. Stay
Bye,
safe
everybody.
and healthy.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Beer time is.
I trod on you, Steph. What did you say there?
Oh, I said stay safe and healthy. Sorry, I added
All
in
right.
extra stuff to what I normally. I'll stop. I
Oh,
won't do
yeah.
that more.
It's all right.
Did you miss a rehearsal?
Stick to the script, Steph. Jeez.
Yeah.
I just piled in there. Sorry about that.
And then last week, we have to, I guess, probably do a rehearsal for our end of show sign-offs. Who goes when and what, all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah, no, it's my fault. I
no
deviated
problem.
from the standard operating procedures.
A deviated septum?
Yeah, that
No.
too. No.
Okay. Oh, I need to go.
She's a
here.
deviant.
A
Deviant.
Let's see. I'm over here and turning this off. And stop
recorders.
Stop recorders.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And save.
I don't think
Okay.
we need it today, though.
I don't think so either.
Hold on to it, though.
Please do. Looks like I have a good recording on this, so that's good. Excellent. All right, getting back to the other page, and everybody in the video, and everybody in the chat room. Thank you, Lucas. It was worth at least that much, I think.
Yeah, I'm waiting for my 25 cents of Lucas's dollar.
Or 20 cents now.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's true. Damn.
Or even worse, if we,
Let's not go there.
Okay. Glenn, you said Airplane Geeks on your audio feedback, so I took the opportunity to have fun with it and just cut out that part and just say airline pilot guy.
We need a little accent there, Jeff, though.
Yeah,
the accent, New Zealand accent
guy.
would have been good.
I don't think I can do it.
Pilot guy?
Airline pilot guy. I can't do it.
I feel like
Airline pilot guy.
We're going to get all kinds of hate. First for my French accent for Montreal, and now for
Montreal.
Yeah.
Well, now Dana's sounding like Forrest Gump.
Life's like a box of chocolates. Just never know what you're going to get.
That was really good, actually.
Did you see? Did you see the Mr. Rogers movie?
Yes,
done by Tom Hanks. That was fantastic.
It was really good. It was not at all what I thought it was going to be, but I loved it. It was very
me
good.
too.
Oh, good. I'll have to check that out.
I watched it on an airplane. Actually,
It actually had a lot of meaning between for me and my mother. Because it's kind of where we're at.
Bittersweet.
Mm-hmm. Huh. Good movie.
Yeah, as of tomorrow, apparently Mecklenburg County, which is not where I live, but is where Charlotte is under a stay-at-home order. So all kinds of non-essential things will be limited there as well. So joining lots of people around the world in that.
Hunkering down, man.
Yep.
Hunkering down. I think my son is heading back from Orlando today or tonight. Alyssa, my oldest daughter, has been furloughed from or laid off from her job at the zoo. So she's going to be moving back in with us. So it's going to be one big happy family here.
Who's going to feed the animals?
Yeah, I guess they have people to do that. So they say it's a temporary thing. So I'm hoping that that's going to work out that way. But in the meantime, just to save some money for her, she'll be living here. She already kind of has a lot of her stuff here anyway. So we didn't make her room into a parlor or anything like that. So
that's nice of you.
Yeah. So let's see. And then Natalie, as far as I know, she's the auditor accountant person with Price Waterhouse. She's still employed by them, but she's at a work at home or work from home kind of order from the company. And then I think because she's in the Atlanta city limits, they have a shelter in place kind of order as well. So she's affected by that. So I think she's going to be okay though. So I don't think she's moving back in with us at this point. So 2 out of 3 of the kids are moving back. So there you have an
Uber
update.
Frank wants a 24/7 APG.
Yeah,
no.
That exists. You just need to go back and start from episode
1.
That's right.
Yeah, there's plenty there.
It
if
will
you want
last
to listen
you-
to us for 24 hours a day.
I'm sure
Yep.
it would last through the quarantine.
Oh, for sure. At least.
I was looking at the flight school's website though, and they say they're still open for now. So maybe I will give them a call tomorrow. And since I've got one telephone encounter patient to see, maybe I will try to occupy my time. Otherwise, we'll see.
Look at that. He's trying to
it's too late.
even it out.
Play
You're
a
gonna have
little
to do
try.
it.
I'm just trying it on for when Rick comes on.
I think he's going to pull his eyes out of his head and wash them because he'll be so shocked to see that happening.
There's your typical Boeing guy right there.
That's it.
There you go.
Hey, dude.
Actually, the typical Boeing guys like this.
I think they're in real trouble, Boeing.
Yeah, they'll make it out of this, I think.
Who listens to APG all through the night?
Does he?
Sue?
Who?
No, Sue.
Sue? Oh.
Yeah, but are you actually awake during that
Right.
time too?
Yeah. It helps her sleep, soothing sleep.
Yeah,
I'm
it helps
sorry
me
I've been a
sleep
bit
when
quiet today, but I'm actually very tired. I don't know why. Didn't sleep very well last night.
Oh, sorry to hear that. So
Okay.
were you able to pick up something?
No, because they put me on
Oh, okay. So you're
23K.
not allowed to pick up something when you're on 23K.
I can tell them specifically what I would like to fly, but you want to know what? I hope they don't select me, but they probably will.
You need some rest.
Yeah, I do actually. I've been working nonstop between flying and the remodel of the house. We're getting close though. I'm putting a lot of work in.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
Finished plumbing today and did some electrical. So not at the same time though. So I wasn't touching water and doing electrical. That would have been bad. But now I'm going to get into some painting, I think, tomorrow while my buddy finishes up the tiling. But we have a tub installed and almost ready to go.
Nice.
Getting excited.
Can't wait to see it.
Yeah, it's going to be nice. I'll send some photos.
All right. Very good. Very good. All right. I would install a bidet too if I were you.
We have them.
Oh, excellent.
We're just installing, instead of having to run an extension cord, we're installing an actual plug next to the loo, as
Wonderful.
Nick would say.
Yes.
So we've had that bidet for a year and a half now, maybe.
Liz says, "Will Hillel do a review of your new bathroom, Dana?"
Yeah,
you can hang out there next week.
Yeah, we'll have to. I'll have to do something with a voiceover with him.
Excellent.
Sounds like fun. All right. Well, with that, folks, you want to just hang out for a little bit longer, or you want to go ahead and end the broadcast?
I'm going to have to head bedwards.
Yeah.
If we just want to chat about when we're doing the next show, we can stay live if you want.
Okay. We normally don't do that live with the folks, but we can if you want.
Well, let me just put it this way. I'm free all week.
All right.
Your schedule is wide open. Mine is actually not as of right now, unless something changes.
Okay. Liz wants us to take it off air.
Off air.
She wants to get involved. She doesn't like coming on here.
Okay. So see ya, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Adios.
If not sooner. Bye.
All the best.
Adios.